reborn as leader of villain group. Let's go ch 57 to 81. 57. The Church's downfall. The day after the church was attacked, the empire was literally turned upside down. Several incidents occurred consecutively, even though one of those incidents would be enough to become a major news headline. The fact that the demons appeared in the church, the brutal defeat of the crusade that fought the demons, the Pope being found in a disgraceful state. As if the church wasn't damaged enough, the story didn't end there. The women who had been imprisoned in the basement of the church returned to their homes. They began to testify everything that had happened, all the sufferings that they had suffered at the hands of the Pope and the Crusaders, everything. Are you kidding me? For real? A clergyman would actually. No, but, don't you see? Dozens of missing women suddenly returned to their home at the same day? This evidence is loud and clear. The testimonies given by the victim had been equally gut-wrenching. But they said the demons saved them. What does that mean? Well, that's true, but from their perspective, that doesn't sound too weird, right? Considering the things that have been done to them by the church. No. They must be influenced by the demon's mind control or something. You know, black magic can alter someone's memory. But the main point is, just how corrupt is the church? Not only they're selling scummy holy water and squeezing people's money in the disguise of donations. Now it's rape. The heck? The church might as well be the demons. That's the hideous darkness lurking within the church, an organization that the people believed to be righteous and pure, had been revealed. The vivid photographs posted in today's newspaper left the people speechless. The newspaper showed a large picture of the underground laboratory that Kai had taken when he was in the slum and the photo of the underground prison where the women had been imprisoned. But the demons are still in the capital, you know? We don't know when they are going to attack us. We still need the church's power. I understand your point, but come on. Don't you start to hate the church more than the demons after seeing this? Look. These guys have been burning people at the stake out in the open and beat the people that refuse to go to the church, you know? That's true. They're literally running on politics of fear. Yeah, exactly. But still, they say the only way to fight the demons is by relying on the holy magic that the church and the Crusaders have. The church has been the backbone of this country for ages. I know we had no other choice but to follow along with the church. I know that, but still. Just look at this. Look. Do you really think the church is allowed to do this? The voice of an enraged man echoed from the tavern's terrace. The man sitting across from him said nothing, only shrinking back in fear. Those guys even took more than half of the money I worked my ass for. TCH. Enough. Demons or whatever, maybe this country should go to crumble instead. Yo. Maybe I will join the resistance. If I'm not wrong, the resistance started in the slums, but it's been growing pretty fast. Yo. What are you talking about in the middle of the capital? You'll get yourself killed. If my head is going to roll on the floor just because I'm complaining a bit, then this country really deserves to perish for real. The people's morale was wavering. Distrust grew stronger as the people started releasing all the pent-up frustration they had been bottling up. The atmosphere in the capital became increasingly hostile. Before long, the people's attention shifted from the danger of demons that had attacked the church to the darkness and the crimes of the church. Those people are not like demons at all. The boy with one red eye even treated our injuries that they are definitely not the demons. The real demons are the church, who have exploited us. The vivid testimonies from the women that had been freed from the fell further fueled the public's wrath. The trust in the church plummeted at an astonishing speed. The organization that served as the foundation of the country began to waver, and in the midst of all these, what do you mean? How could the prince turn his back against us? The Pope, the main culprit of this incident, shouted angrily at the priest in front of him. He clearly looked panicked. After all, the second prince, Adolf, had refused to provide any support to the church. Hearing this news while lying on the bed of the treatment room, the Pope's face turned bright red as he raised his voice. Demons are lurking in the capital. Right now. Adel is being infested by demons. The church was attacked by the demons and the Crusaders in the capital were almost wiped out. Why the royal family still refused to help us? This can't be happening. No way. This can't be. Quick. Send someone else to the castle. We must get the support of the royal family at all costs. At this rate, the demons are going to attack us again. That's right. Summon cults. That guy is a hero. He should be able to put up a fight against those demons. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Do you really don't have any intention to confess your sins? The Pope's trembling voice was abruptly cut off by the priest's cold words. Look of genuine contempt and eyes full of the most vile disgust was etched on the priest's face. It was as if the Pope was trash, something worse than a mere scum. You have committed sins so vile that I can't even bear to speak of it. If you are truly a man of God, you should confess your sin in the confessional, not requesting for support. And yet, the only thing you can think of is saving your own skin. Don't mess with me. How dare a mere priest like you dare to speak to me like that? Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The priest suddenly burst out laughing. His face was the definition of resignation. In the end, everything is going according to the prophecy. Demons will engulf the world and repaint the world piece by piece. Ha ha ha. No, perhaps, the prophecy is the true salvation. After all, just look at you. Trash like you has been revered as a pope for decades in this country. Yo, you bastard. Arg, my oh my, looks like you can still feel pain from being kicked in the groin. I guess the number of your conquests against those helpless women and the hardness of your crotch aren't related at all, huh? Ha ha. You. I will kill you. I will kill you. Guards. What are you guys doing? Kill this bastard now. Ah ha 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 ha. Once again, the priest burst out laughing, loud enough to incite the Pope's rage. Ha. To think I served someone like you for years. Ha ha. I'm such a fool. Yo you. It seems you still can't accept the reality, huh? Pope. No. Himmler. Don't you get it? The royal family have forsaken you. What? The moment the second prince realized the church's reputation can't be salvaged, he discarded you like a lizard chopping its tail off. You're useless for the royal family now. Your only options are the crusaders stationed outside the capital and that hero. Guards. Guards. Ha 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 ha. You still haven't realized? There are no guards remaining to protect someone like you. The priest clapped several times before he delivered the final blow to the Pope. You're finished, Himmler. This is your punishment for deceiving God and toying with humans. From now on, you will thoroughly experience the retribution from your sins with your own flesh. T/N. Well, we all knew the Pope ain't gonna repent. 58. Alwyn has changed. 2 days after we attacked the church, Alwyn's mental state remained shattered. Her values, beliefs, life and everything she had believed had crumbled in one night. She had no idea that the place she belonged to was actually the den of evil, nor did she know the Pope that she had respected so much was actually a despicable human being. The fairy tale crumbled and in return, the bitter reality slipped in. Actually, she was supposed to meet up with Colts and the others yesterday. Then, they would head toward the dungeon. However, due to the shock, she had forgotten to contact her party member. Now, she had become an empty husk as she shut herself in one of the empty rooms at Real's mansion. In that quiet room, the sound of a gentle knock echoed. Alwyn, it's me, Kai. Upon hearing Kai's voice, Alwyn tried to get up from the bed. However, her knees suddenly gave out, causing her to fall onto the floor. Alwyn. Upon hearing that sound, Kai quickly opened the door without waiting for Alwyn's answer and entered the room. In that dimly lit room, Alwyn was kneeling on the floor. She looked up at Kai. Her eyes were devoid of any sign of life. I heard from Chloe that you haven't eaten anything in these past 2 days, Kai said with a bitter expression on his face. Alwyn let her head hang low before she slowly stood up. I'm sorry. For what? The church is the actual root of all evil. The demon wasn't you, Kai-san. It was us. Not us. That wasn't your fault. No, it was my fault. Had I paid more attention to others? Had I questioned more things? Had I doubted more? None of this would have. You don't need to bear the responsibility of a whole organization all by yourself, Alwyn. Gently, as not to hurt her, Kai took Alwyn's wrist and guided her to the bed. I know my words won't give you any comfort, but you're not at fault. At least, not from what I can see. Of course, since you're part of the church, people will definitely blame you too. Nothing can be done about that. After making Alwyn sit on the edge of the bed, Kai took a chair to sit in front of her. The dark circles under her eyes were so prominent. Her face was ghostly pale, both from not eating and not sleeping for days. Her lips were dry. She looked like she'd collapse at any given moment. Chloe had done her best to nurture Alwyn, but it seemed even Chloe couldn't do much about her. But still, Kai took a deep breath and braced himself. He made sure to speak loud and clear, in hope that his words could reach her. Despite everything else, there are people that you've saved. Huh? You used to volunteer at orphanages and even went out of your way to treat people in the slum, right? As long as you keep your heart pure like at that time, people will come to trust you again someday. Alwyn's eyes widened in shock. Of course. This was part of her past that she had never shared with anyone. This was something that Kai came to know after completing her quest. You really know everything about me, huh? She spoke calmly, but there was a faint smile on her face. A smile that she hadn't shown in a long time. I really can't see you as a demon, Kai-san. Is that so? You're a strange one. A really strange one. Alwyn cast her head down and sighed deeply again before suddenly, she lifted her head and looked Kai in the eyes. In a tone laced with a hint of stubbornness, Alwyn said, "There's something that you want to talk about, right? Yeah. May I ask what you want to talk about?" Kai paused for a moment before he slowly opened his mouth. The Pope refused to apologize. He's choosing an all-out war. He has summoned all crusaders stationed in various regions to the capital and he even asked for Kult's help. I thought you should know. I see. Once again, all emotions vanished from Alwyn's eyes. Her gaze became hollow again. There was no hint of tears in sight. He threw his last chance away, didn't he? Alwyn, you're going to kill the Pope, right? Yeah, Alwyn always referred to the Pope as His Holiness instead of the Pope. This change signaled her perspective of him. Hearing this, Kai licked his lips. Without any hesitation, he continued on. We're planning to attack the church at midnight tonight. The preparations are already complete and by sunrise tomorrow, the Pope will be dead. The church will be destroyed too. He, along with the Crusaders, have tormented countless people. Far too many people have suffered under their tyranny. We must give them the proper retribution for that. I see. Foo. Kai furrowed his eyebrows slightly. He didn't expect Alwyn would smile, let alone laugh like this. Why is she laughing? Everything I just said is basically like a knife to her heart. Foo. You foo. Ahaha. And yet, Alwyn kept laughing. Not burst out laughing. She was only laughing softly while clapping several times. After a while, Alwyn finally took another deep breath. Kai-san, I have something to ask from you. Personally speaking, I don't think that's a good idea. Foo. So you already know what I'm going to ask? However, I'm sorry, I have to say it. Kai-san, please take me with you. Alwyn, please. I won't get in your way anymore. Even if the Pope dies, I won't cry. Why would you go that far though? It is my duty to witness everything. In that split second, a flash of stubbornness sparked in Alwyn's eyes. It was not a determination. It was something different, something like a sticky obsession, something that she had never shown before. Technically speaking, I am the spokesperson for the church. It wouldn't be right for someone of my standing to not witness the church's end. I will watch the Pope die with my eyes and then, I will make sure all the evil practices the church has done will end with the Pope. I will rebuild righteous church from scratch. But you know, cults will be the two. Cults might see you as an enemy if you stay by our side. Are you fine with that? If my strength is needed, then I will stand on the opposite side of Kults-sama just this once. Why? As soon as Kai asked her that question, Alwyn showed him a beaming smile. Because that man is unbelievably stubborn. If he's there, the church will never change. He will definitely keep on supporting the Pope, since the Pope was the one that chose him as a hero. Even now, even though all of the Pope's sins have been exposed, that guy still continues to turn a blind eye on the truth and wholeheartedly believe he's on the side of justice. In times like this when change is necessary, a fool like him will only get in the way. Kai widened in his eyes as he stared at Alwyn. Is this really Alwyn? The kind and gullible Alwyn who's always so gentle? I didn't know she could spit such venomous words like that. However, The proof of her obsession didn't stop there. She looked up at the ceiling and sighed deeply again. Besides, no matter what happens, I just can't forgive the Pope. I absolutely can't forgive him. Alwyn. Strange, isn't it? Just 2 days ago, I was so desperate to protect him, but now that I know he won't repent, the hatred suddenly appeared. I hate him so much, I loathe him, so much so that I almost can't believe I can feel this way towards someone. He was the one that saved me, the one that raised me, and yet... Foo. I will never forgive the Pope. Words that were inappropriate for a clergy like her. And yet, after saying all that, the corner of her mouth raised into a smile. And someone like him. It would have been better if someone like him had never been born. Right? You foo. She wore a chilling smile that sent shivers down Kai's spine. T/N, when the good girl gone bad, you need to be very very afraid. 59, the start of slaughter. Oh. Kultsama. Welcome. On the night before the designated day that Kai had warned him, Kultz arrived at the church in a hurry. Seeing Kultz, a look of relief flashed on the Pope's face. After all, for the Pope, who hardly received any support from the royal family, Kultz was basically his savior. Tomorrow is the day I mentioned in the letter. The day that a cursed demon will come to attack us. But since Kultsama is here, I can feel at ease. Your Holiness. However, Kultz interrupted the Pope mid-sentence rudely. His gaze was cold and accusatory. The things written in the newspaper. Are they true? I'm asking if it's true that you can find innocent women and turn them into sex slaves for the Crusaders. Kultz's voice was firm. It was clear to see that he wouldn't accept any excuses. The Pope flinched. Kultz had come to know about this fact just yesterday, on the day he had promised to go diving into a dungeon with Alwyn and Brian. For some reason, Alwyn didn't show up that day, and when Kultz went back to the nearby town to investigate, he saw the news. Demons suddenly attacked the church. Shortly after that, one of the Crusaders staying in that town handed Kultz a letter from the Pope. The church urgently requested for his presence. The letter warned that the demons might be coming again. Your Holiness? You heard my question, didn't you? That's... the Pope stammered. Seeing that, Kultz furrowed his eyebrows and clenched his fists tightly. Actually, he wanted to bring Brian along, but upon learning all the nefarious deeds the church had done, Brian only shook her face. Her face was full of disgust at the church. I get it. I understand your feelings, but defeating the demons takes precedence. Someone belonging to a hero party like you should be able to know what to prioritize. No matter how hard Kultz tried to persuade her, Brian refused to budge. Above everything else, listen to yourself. Are you out of your mind? Who's the demon here? The ones who dare to do such wicked things are the real demons. Despite knowing that, you still want to help those bastards? You dare to call yourself a hero? Is that what a hero is to you? Brian's words pierced Kultz's mind like sharp needles. Kultz tried to retort, but he was at a loss for words. After all, Kultz understood Brian's point. And yet, Kultz still detested the fact that Brian refused to prioritize defeating the demon. Kultz hated Brian's weak mentality, even though she was part of the hero's party. I'm sorry. Cornered. The Pope's face twisted into frustration as he forced out an apology from his mouth. Understanding the meaning behind the Pope's words, Kultz's eyes widened in shock. It is true that I've committed grave sins. I have no words to justify them. But, right now, the most important thing to do is defeating those demons. After all, the Empire is going to get destroyed if we let the demons run amok. Kultsama, you're the chosen one. The hero who will save this country. Please eradicate the demons with your holy sword. Who's the demon here? The ones who dare to do such wicked things are the real demons. Brian's words echoed in his mind again, causing Kultz to frown. Seeing the change of expression as a threat to his plan, the Pope stammered again. I understand. However, Kultz only nodded. Right now, defeating the demons was his top priority. I will help. However, after everything is over, you must properly pay for your crime according to the law. Of course. Thank you. The Pope bowed his head repeatedly in quick succession. All the dignity and regality he once had were all gone. For the Pope, it didn't matter whether he'd receive punishment for real or not. Saving his life was more important than that. After leaving the Pope's office, Kultz sighed. Shit. No matter how stubborn he was, Kultz knew imprisoning innocent women and abusing them sexually was not right. If the perpetrator had been an ordinary person, Kultz would have immediately brandished his sword as the advocate of justice. However, the perpetrator was the Pope. The Pope was his benefactor and a key figure for this country. Kultz decided that he would turn a blind eye on the Pope's crime for now. All for the future of the nation. Sacrificing the small for the greater good, so to say. And above all, Kultz was burning with desire to take his revenge against the demons. I will kill him. This time, I will kill him for sure. Clenching his teeth, Kultz stepped into the church's courtyard. In a place where Kai had killed dozens of crusaders 2 days ago, many crusaders that the Pope had summoned from other regions were preparing some kind of spell. That boy had to be killed here. A demon that dared to appear in the middle of the capital was far too dangerous to let free. Furthermore, Kultz knew he wouldn't be at peace until he had his revenge. He still couldn't forget the humiliation he had endured at the hidden laboratory. He, who believed himself to be the embodiment of absolute justice, had been thoroughly trampled upon by a demon. I will never forgive him. He's absolutely unforgivable. Inferiority complex. Revenge. Sense of justice. These three emotions whirled inside of him, making his obsession toward Kai to grow into an abnormal level. This was the reason why he had been honing his skills every day. He had been venturing in and out of dungeons to gain more experience. For Kultz, nothing Alwyn or Brian said mattered. He didn't even care what they thought of him either. In his world, there was only him and Kai. In fact, even now, he didn't even bother talking about how to rescue Alwyn, who had been taken by the demons. Of course, a very small part of him was still worrying about Alwyn, but that small part was greatly overwhelmed by his inferiority complex. Defeating the demons? No. Defeating Kai took precedence over everything. Brian refused to help him. Alwyn was kidnapped. He was literally alone now. Clenching his fist, he looked up at the night sky. It will be fine. If I defeat the demon, everything will go back to normal. I can find new comrades and I can be happy again. So he thought to himself when suddenly, arg! One of the crusaders who had been drawing a magic circle in front of him suddenly collapsed. Chaos erupted. Blood spurted out from the crusaders. Everyone present froze in spot, unable to know where the attack had come from. It's the demon. Quick! Activate your magic vision. Get in the formation. Stay calm. This is the day we've been waiting for. Thousands of our allies will arrive soon. We just need to hold out until the Question mark. The man, who appeared to be the leader of the squadron, suddenly had his head severed. The surrounding soldiers immediately let out a pathetic cry. Of course they didn't know where the enemy was. Of course they couldn't see the attack coming. Of course they didn't realize they had been attacked until it was too late. Not until their comrade's head had flown off. They didn't know that this was possible due to the effect of an artifact that Chloe had. Get in the formation. Magic units. Start preparing the magic spell. The time is nigh. And then, he appeared. From within the dense foliage inside the church, the boy emerged, wearing a very confident smile on his face. His left eye glowed red. Kultz widened his eyes. He immediately drew his holy sword out and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Demon!" The boy only scanned his surroundings calmly and took out a pocket watch from his pocket. "All right. It's past midnight now." Kai then took a deep breath before he tilted his head to the side. "Each and every one of you. None of you will make it out alive." So began the start of slaughter. T/N, we love punctual MC. 60, false victory. There were hundreds of crusaders in the church ground. Our plan was to defeat all of them and bring the Pope to a certain location. I shrugged my shoulders as I looked at Kultz, who was burning with anger in front of me. At the same time, I recalled the conversation I had with my comrades the day before yesterday. "Are you really sure about this? Wouldn't it be better if we just kidnap the Pope alone?" "No, we have to kill them all, Chloe." No matter how strong we were individually, fighting against hundreds of trained armies would be difficult to do. Chloe had explained that to me. but I still shook my head in refusal. The Crusaders stationed in the province have received years of training at the church before they were deployed. In other words, they're not weaker than the Crusaders in the capital, right? And they must have exploited those innocent women too. They must have used those poor women as an outlet for their sexual desires. Even though they're stationed in the province, they must have known the truth about the church too. As soon as they heard that, Chloe and Nia's expression became grim. Real, who was next to them, clenched her fist hard. So? What are we going to do? Not to mention, the hero will be the two. Real threw that question at me. I clapped once and grinned. I've got an idea. It was quite risky and it would require a high amount of magic. However, I believed this plan was necessary in order to kill all of them. Real, I have a favor to ask from you. I explained the details of the plan I had in mind and the three of them also chipped in, giving me their advice. After making minor adjustments to my initial plan, finally, the plan was complete. A plan to destroy the church to the ground. Demon. It didn't take long for Kultz to take action. He immediately drew his holy sword out and channeled his magic power. The sword was immediately enveloped by a yellow aura. Kultz then charged toward me. I raised one hand high in the air and snapped my fingers. Snap. At the same time, the tip of Kultz's sword reached me. Divine aura. Fast. Compared to when I fought him before, Kultz had become so much quicker. I immediately bent my waist to dodge his attack, but his speed exceeded my expectations, causing my eyes to widen from shock. He swung his sword downward, but I quickly channeled the magic power in my body to dodge him again. Then, I crouched down low and kicked his leg. UGH. When Kultz lost his balance, I quickly kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying. Kultz tumbled down on the ground. Cough, cough. According to Alwyn, Kultz had been going out and in the dungeon almost every day, training like a madman. However, his effort was not in vain. His growth was remarkable indeed. Well, you've gotten stronger, huh? Shut up. How dare you mock me, you bastard. No? I was genuinely complimenting you though. I will kill you. I will kill you for sure. Why am I so hated in this place? It seemed I received more hatred than I deserved, but I didn't really care either way. Kultz was the character that I had controlled for 4 years in my past life, and it was true I had some sort of attachment with him, but now he was nothing but an enemy. Yuag. Kultz gathered all of the magic power within him and channeled it into his holy sword. The yellow aura grew thicker and bigger, until his entire arm was engulfed in its radiance. The yellow aura blazing brightly, almost blinding. Not only did his speed increase significantly, but so did the amount of magic power he had and the control he had over his skills. Smirking, I drew the sword I favored the most in the game, Britta. Kultz-sama. We will support you. Magic unit. Back Kultz-sama up. Give him buff and bombard the demon with a long-range magic attack. Black aura emerged from Britta and Kultz jumped at me once more. This time, I leapt straight at him, meeting him straight on. Gradually, the sky was filled with rain of light arrows and beneath them, my aura and Kultz clashed. Die. Dee. Ha. Too bad. You're the one who's going to die. Our swords collided and waves of energy surged out from our collision. He struck his sword that was aimed to slash me and I aimed for his neck. He blocked my sword and jumped back, creating a small distance between us before he jumped again to aim at my waist. Dodging his attack, I formed a shield with black magic to deflect the incoming rain of arrows. Fire. Fire. Kill the demon. Amidst the chaotic situation, memories of my past life flashed through my mind. In the game I played, the boss attacks kept raining down like a manifestation of madness. I dodged them all skillfully and unleashed my skill in the most effective way possible based on the cycle of the boss attack. Yes. This situation was the same. The more chaotic the situation was, the more exhilarating it was. My instinct as a gamer screamed. The soul of a top-ranked player. I moved my sword swiftly to block Kultz's attack while dodging the arrows simultaneously. Dark Pierce. 3 large spears manifested in the air and exploded as the spears impaled the Crusaders. Screams erupted, blood splattered everywhere. Meanwhile, I was still clashing swords with Kultz. Our blades moved at terrifying speed. Each of our movements was dedicated to taking our opponent's life. We collided. We blocked each other's attack. We kept pressing into each other. What the shit? That boy is a monster. It's alright. A little bit more. Just a little bit more. Hurry up and start preparing the magic circle. Black and white swords clashed, creating a dazzling flash of lights. Gradually, Kultz's face became even more panicked. This reaction was to be expected though. After all, this was the fastest he was ever be, and yet, none of his attacks went through. But still, this is going nowhere. At this rate, taking some distance from him, I tried to regain my breathing. Even though I could move fairly well, but the situation was actually not in my favor. Although I had more magic power than him, but my swordsmanship was still beneath him. My technique alone wouldn't be enough to defeat him. I need to do something to compensate for my lack of skill. However, at that moment, Kultz-sama. The magic circle is finished. Yeah. Got it. Upon hearing the voice of the leader of the squadron, Kultz gripped the holy sword with both hands, and at the same time, a massive magic circle appeared beneath my feet. This is the one that they used to defeat Nya in the game. I had a hunch that they'd use this, and it turned out, I was right. The ultimate holy magic, the one required to defeat Nya, the final boss of the game. The secret holy magic that would burn everything to cinder, Genesis. This is the end. Staking everything on this single strike, Kultz attacked me again with his holy skill. My whole body was enveloped by his blinding aura. The aura was so big that I couldn't dodge it. Out of instinct, I channeled the remaining magic power in me to block the incoming attack, but at the same time, a burning pain surged throughout my body. It was as if I was being burned on cellular level. The magic circle beneath my feet grew brighter and divine flare. The magic circle consumed me along with Kultz's holy aura. The ground came to a complete silence, and in the middle of that, a single boy lay fallen on the ground. With a magic circle that required almost 100 magic units of the Crusaders to complete, the hero, Kultz, poured all of his remaining magic power to deliver the final blow. Together, a flash of light consumed the demon hall, and finally, the demon was defeated. We did it. Victory is ours. Cheers erupted among the Crusaders. Hope blossomed. They had defeated the demon. They had eliminated the fearsome demon with their own hands. Hail to the Empire. Long live the Pope. Thank goodness. Now we can finally return to our normal lives. Ha ha ha. That was tough, but now we can go back to our normal again. Hailed the Crusaders. With this, we can return to our previous life again. The townsfolk will respect us again, and we can spend our days violating women in the name of the Crusaders. All the Crusaders shared the same sentiment. But of course, the thought was left unsaid. The whole courtyard was filled with joy, and Kultz approached Kai. A triumphant smile spread across the hero's face. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ah, I knew it. I was right after all. The demons are the bad ones. I mean, of course they do. They're evil. That's why they're called the demons. The holy sword chose me. Of course the path that I chose is always righteous. After all, I am the hero. I'm the one who will save this world. So he thought to himself as Kultz raised his holy sword up in the sky and stabbed Kai in the neck. Die. 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 Ah ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. It feels so good. It feels so exhilarating. Ah, I can't hold it in anymore. Kultz laughed maniacally while stabbing Kai's lifeless body multiple times with his holy sword. Kai hehe. Kihaha. This is my victory. You're the loser. I'm not wrong. Comrade? I can just look for new comrades again. For every kick in the underground laboratory. For every insult hurled at him. For every moment of misery. For every self-doubt. Kultz continued butchering Kai's body to relieve all of his pent-up frustration. He desecrated the lifeless figure beneath him for minutes. For several minutes. For tens of minutes. Finally, after an hour had passed, he finally sheathed his holy sword back to its casing. Ha ha. Ha ha. What an amazing day. I'm glad I became a hero. With this, my justice has been proved to be true. This is it, I guess. I just need to report everything to His Holiness, and that's the end of everything. he thought to himself. However, just as the hero turned around on his heels, suddenly, ugh! He saw a crusader clutching his neck in pain. Maybe the magic power in his body went berserk, he thought to himself, but then, suddenly, the man's head turned around. Literally. The man's head was spinning around, rotating like a drill. The man's head kept spinning and spinning until the man's face changed. Colts could only stare at the scene in front of him dumbfoundedly. After all, that face. That detestable face belonged to the boy he had stabbed multiple times just a moment ago. With its left red eyes glowing in the darkness, the demon looked at him and grinned. An expression that told the hero everything that had happened just now was part of the demon's plan. That the hero had been playing on the demon's palm. You think things are going to your expectation. Not just one. Another man's head began to twist again. It was as if the twisting was contagious. Dozens of heads were spinning. Hundreds of heads were spinning. Everyone's head was spinning. All of their faces transformed into the demon's face. Hundreds of demon faces were staring at Colts. Their left eyes glowed devilishly. So this is what you expected to happen? Was it fun? You had fun, right? PFFT. You thought you were winning, huh? Ha. Victory is ours, you said? PFFT. Defeat is yours, you know? Ha. Your justice has been proved to be true, you said? Ha. Hilarious. The courtyard, which had been filled with cheers of joy from the Crusaders, had changed. The courtyard was now filled with mockery and insults from hundreds of the same face. Unable to understand what was happening, Colts trembled. His lips was quivering, and in the midst of confusion, he accidentally dropped the holy sword in his hand. You know, in a movie that I saw in my previous life, there was a line that goes like, "With great power comes great responsibility." The bloodied Kai then stood up from the ground. The desecrated body suddenly appeared in front of Colts. And you used that great power of yours to satisfy your own inferiority complex. Which is why. Kai smiled. A smile that Colts would never forget. A smile that haunted him like a trauma. You, a shithead that didn't fulfill your responsibility, must now face your well-deserved punishment. T/N. Indeed. The higher they are, the harder they fall. 61. Shadow vs. Crusaders. What? What's happening? Colts-sama. I didn't expect the hallucination magic would work this well. Feeling a bit awkward, I watched as Colts screamed in front of me. Before I fought him, I snapped my fingers and cast a hallucination spell on him. It was a simple mental manipulation magic. I mean, he should have had some resistance to mental manipulation by now. Hallucinations attacks like this could only work in the early stages of the game. As the story progressed, Colts also underwent the various hardships and trials, allowing him to grow stronger both mentally and physically. At the same time, he should have become more resistant to status ailment skills too. Yet, here he was, easily deceived by simple hallucinations trick. He was writhing in agony, a clear indication that his mental strength hadn't grown at all. Who would have thought this guy could be this stupid? He was supposed to be the main character of this game. Even in the game, despite all of his shortcomings, he'd sometimes reflect on his mistake and grow from it. However, this guy before me was way too blinded by inferiority complex and conviction. I didn't expect that part of him could make him this stupid. I guess a human being could be this ugly if they let those ugly emotions grow in their heart. Anyway, there's no need to let him live. I must kill him right here and now before he becomes a headache in the future. Sanctuary. I was thinking of killing Colts when the leader of the group formed a shield of holy magic and leapt at me. I quickly retreated backward and an explosion occurred at the ground I had just stood at, followed by a deafening roar. When the smoke cleared, the man was already carrying Colts on his shoulder. He was staring at me with eyes full of hatred. You bastard. No matter what happens, I'll be sure to destroy you here. You also knew, right? Huh? What are you talking about? The fact that the church was kidnapping and raping women. At my question, the man gasped, seemingly flustered. Seeing that, I let out a short, derisive laugh. And yet, here you are. You can still use holy magic just fine. How revolting. Ah, I knew it. I need to kill every last one of them. Cementing my resolve, I channeled my magic power into the artifact in my hand. Britta glowed again and I quickly dashed forward. Mobile unit. Stop that guy. Magic unit, get in Genesis formation. The man gave order to his subordinate while running away, and in no time, a tremendous amount of enemies blocked my path. They were planning to buy time until the holy magic formation was completed. However, that magic formation would never be completed. Arg. Cough. Wah. What? What's going on? The magic unit is under attack. Protect the magic unit. Shit. Just what's happening here? After all, we had an assassin in our rank that could move faster than me. At a speed too fast for ordinary human eyes to follow, Chloe wove through the men with a knife in her hand. She obliterated the magic formation one by one, targeting only their vital points. Chaos erupted within the Crusaders, like a calamity was happening right within them. Hundreds of Crusaders were being toyed with by just 2 people. What are you doing? Protect Colt's Sama and find the opportunity to complete the magic formation somehow. Even the leader looked clearly at a loss. I cut down the enemies standing before me relentlessly, making my way deeper into the rank steadily. The black aura from Britta pierced through the man's torso. I swung my sword down powerfully and several men were literally cut in half. They immediately collapsed to the ground, lifeless, blood spattered, raining down on me. Fear spread among the men. I dodged their attacks effortlessly and counterattacked appropriately. I leapt into the air and struck the ground with the tip of my sword. The impact created shockwaves, causing the man to be thrown back like a sack of wheat. The yellow aura this so-called holy men emitted faded away and pitch-black dust swirled in the air. Stand back. I will take care of this guy on my own. As I continued killing the Crusaders, once again a shield of light appeared before me. I blocked the shield with my sword as it approached and used the momentum to propel myself backward. I landed on my feet and at the same time, the leader drew his sword out. Shadow. Don't you dare think you can get out of here alive. His subordinates were easily killed by me. Perhaps feeling that he was dancing in the palm of my hand, the leader looked utterly humiliated. His face was bright red. However, it seemed he still hadn't realized it yet. Oi, don't you think there's something you've forgotten? You see, this group of us, Shadow. There are 4 of us. Me, Nya, Chloe and Real. Though technically speaking, Real couldn't be included since she was currently busy in another place. However, she was still missing one more person. Finally realizing the implication behind my words, the man's face went pale. For 4 of us. What are you? Chloe. I yelled for Chloe, who was still ransacking the magic unit, and we nodded to each other within the split-second window. At that moment, Chloe immediately flew to my side and what? Soon after that, a massive shadow loomed over the Crusaders. Looking up, there was something resembling a huge meteor in the sky. A large black sphere was descending toward the ground with tremendous force. Don't dare underestimate our precious princess. As if they knew they'd lose, the men's faces turned hollow. Soon after that, the black meteorite fell to the ground, unleashing a shockwave on the world like none seen before. Alright. A scene of carnage unfolded before my eyes. The explosion of raw, immense energy not only blasted away hundreds of men, but also wiped out the surrounding buildings clearly. A large crater was left behind on the ground. I had prepared Plan B if the mental manipulation magic didn't work on Colts, but it turned out I didn't need Plan B at all. The original plan went smoothly without a hitch. I nodded at Nya, who was standing on the spire behind me. Nya leapt from the air and landed next to me with a soft thud. Then, she immediately hugged me tight. Nya, I've done my best. I need Kai. Aha. Geez. Fine. Returning the hug, I patted her head tenderly. There, I looked at the enormous crater carved out before me. The surrounding landscape had turned desolate. Phew. The realization that I had killed over 100 people in a single night sunk in. I felt a bit heavy in my heart. A mix of feelings swirled in me. However, I still had more things to finish. Now that the fight had come to an end, we needed to head to the Pope. The 3 of us nodded, knowing what we had to do, but then, shit. At the center of the massive crater, A familiar voice echoed. It was Colt's. Somehow, the guy survived. He was gritting his teeth, struggling to even stand. He was still holding on to this holy sword tightly in his hand. No way, how did he survive? So I thought to myself when I saw who was lying next to Colt's. It was the leader of the men from earlier. He must have shielded Colt's with his sanctuary skill at the last moment. The guy couldn't save his own life. But somehow, he managed to save Colt's. You guys. I will kill you. I will definitely kill you all. He climbed out of the crater while cloaked in the aura of the holy sword. The man before me had lost all reason. All that remained were anger, humiliation and hatred toward us. He looked at me then. He immediately lunged straight at me. However, before his sword could reach me, blood was already gushing out from his shoulder. A perfect ambush. Then, he was kicked again, causing him to fly backwards. The one who did that was his old comrade, Chloe. Don't you dare lay a finger on my precious person. Pulling out another knife, Chloe turned to wounded Kai, who was holding onto his stomach in pain. You know what? What a perfect opportunity. You tried to kill me before, didn't you? Shit. Shut up. You traitor. Minion of the demon. You dare to oppose me? You're the evil one here. The one that must be eradicated from this world. Upon hearing Colt's words, every last shred of empathy disappeared from Chloe's heart. She brought her knife closer to her mouth and said coldly, "You know, I'm not the type to just take a beating." And then, in the coldest voice I ever heard from her, "That's why. I'm going to kill you right here." Colt's T/N, Lesku Chloe 62, the end of the hero. Cold wind blew through. Chloe's serious voice echoed in the ruins of the church, leaving Colt's looking puzzled and shocked. What do you mean what? You tried to kill me, didn't you? You see, this is what happens when you try to kill someone. That someone will try to kill you back. Yo, you shithead. Have you truly fallen this low, Chloe? Stop saying bullshit. Chloe frowned and glared at Colt's. Who was it that tried to dispose of me without trying to take a moment to believe in me? I'm not your comrade anymore. My comrades are these two behind me and one particular girl in a mansion. Colt's let out a hollow laughter until finally, he glared at Chloe. His eyes were filled with murderous intent towards a comrade he had spent a long time together with. For someone like him who had been poisoned by elitism ideology, of course he couldn't accept this turn of events easily. Why? How did this happen? Just why? He conveniently forgot everything he had done to Chloe, only focusing on getting frustrated at the current situation. It was a common type of thinking among those conceited people who couldn't see things objectively and truly believed everything they did were right. Sighing in exasperation, Chloe glanced at me. It's fine, isn't it? Yeah. I immediately nodded at Chloe before continuing on. It's fine. Go all out. We didn't need to keep the hero alive anymore after all. Upon hearing my words of affirmation, Chloe dashed forward. In an instant, she closed the distance between him and Colt's. She aimed her knife into his neck. As if I'd let you. Seemingly losing all of his rationality, Colt's unleashed all the magic power left in his body and aimed at Chloe. Sensing the danger, Chloe narrowly avoided the sword and distanced herself from Colt's. I was surprised to see this. My eyes widened in shock upon seeing Colt's actually had the ability to keep up with Chloe's speed. I see. His obsession in diving the dungeon almost every day is not in vain. Colt's readied his posture again with the holy sword in hand before he dashed forward at Chloe. Die, traitor. However, Chloe wasn't just an ordinary assassin. She was a genius. Someone who possessed exceptional talent and could remain composed even during the harshest battle. There was no way she would lose against Colt's, who had lost all his rationality. Chloe swiftly dodged the yellow holy aura that was haphazardly emanated from Colt's sword and pulled out another knife from her pocket. She threw the small knife at Colt's and Colt's deflected it thanks to his quick reflexes. But, in the next moment, while he was momentarily distracted by the thrown knife, Chloe closed in and swung her knife at Colt's, stabbing his shoulder. Blood gushed out from the open wound and Colt's screamed as he tried to back away. The sudden pain and confusion jump-started his instinct to survive, however Chloe wouldn't let such opportunity slip from her hands. Ugh. Chloe, shadow dancing. The moment she saw an opening, Chloe began swinging her knife incessantly. It was as if she was dancing. She stabbed and slashed with both hands while dodging Coltz's counterattacks. Then, Chloe kicked Coltz on the stomach. The kick sent Coltz flying and Chloe pursued him, closing the distance to inflict more wounds on Coltz. Her movements were a work of art. She blended into the shadows seamlessly. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to follow her movement. Coltz, oblivious to Chloe's growth, was overwhelmed by Chloe's relentless attack. His shoulder was stabbed, his arm slashed, and although he managed to block the knife aimed at his neck with his holy sword, Chloe swiftly stabbed his legs next. This kind of fighting style was vastly different from monsters fought in the dungeons. Hence why Coltz was in utter confusion. His fury, now tainted with blood, was steadily eroding. Damn it. In the span of 30 seconds, Chloe performed a divine miracle by using all of her magic power and strength. One-on-one combat like this was never her forte. As Chloe's pace slightly decreased, Coltz took this opportunity to pour all of his remaining magic into his holy sword. The growing yellow aura signaled us that he intended to throw a large-scale attack big enough to not only kill Chloe, but also to take me and Nia along. I will kill you all right here and now. I could understand his decision though. Given his condition, this was the best possible choice. If he concentrated his magic solely to defeat Chloe, even if he managed to defeat her, he would still need to fight me and Nia. Also, if the range of attack was small enough for Chloe to dodge, he wouldn't have any magic power left to fight. That would be the end of him. Hence why he enlarged the scale of the attack to ensure he could kill all three of us in one swoop. Chloe might be in danger. The yellow aura from the holy sword was swirling rapidly, gradually changing into a massive sphere. It was incredible that Coltz could have this much magic power left at this point. I watched the magic sphere grow larger as I acknowledged Coltz's natural talent. Nia was right though. This was definitely an attack that Chloe wouldn't be able to dodge. Given that Coltz was putting all of his magic into this attack, it was clear to see that the damage from this attack would be immense. However, no, let's put our trust in Chloe. I quietly spoke as I watched Chloe taking something out of her pocket. Chloe isn't that weak. Coltz, with his eyes wide from rage, shifted his attention from Chloe to me. Die, demon. Die, traitor. Die. Every single of you. Die. Just as he was about to unleash that powerful ball of magic on us, a sharp, slicing sound echoed. A completely different noise than an explosion. It was as if the space was cleaved apart. Coltz was left speechless. He watched dumbfoundedly as the particles of light in front of him vanished in an instant, and in return, he saw the pendant Chloe was holding on. What? The massive sphere that could potentially swallow us whole had turned to dust, disappearing into nothingness. Next, Coltz finally noticed the holy sword was lying on the ground, followed by WHA. What? The striking pain on his severed arm. He kept glancing back and forth between his severed arm and the holy sword. Coltz was aghast. He could only let out strange noises from his mouth. Shit. What the heck? You. Just what the heck did you do? Chloe watched in silence as Coltz started descending into madness before her eyes. This was the ability of her artifact, Spatial Cube. This artifact could connect between spaces, and the moment Chloe deemed we'd get swallowed along with Coltz's attack, Chloe infused her magic power into the pendant. The artifact then bridged the space between her and Coltz, allowing her to cut Coltz's arm off. Coltz, devoid of any hope, started screaming like a maniac. For 4 years. I had played the game as Coltz for 4 whole years. However, it was time to end his life here. Chloe. Yeah. Adjusting the grip on the knife, Chloe walked steadily to Coltz. Sensing his imminent death, Coltz tried to grab the holy sword with his other hand. However, another shocking thing came unfolding. What? Why? Why? Question mark. Everyone present, including Chloe, was flabbergasted. The holy sword that had fallen to the ground refused to budge no matter how hard Kultz tried to pick it up. Even when Kultz tried to channel his remaining magic power into the sword showed no sign of reacting. Why? Question mark. Why? Exclamation mark why? Question mark. I see. Kultz was now lying on the ground, still trying his utmost best to lift the holy sword with his remaining arm. However, it was all in vain. No matter how hard he struggled, no matter how hard he screamed, the sword remained unmoved. Upon hearing Kultz's long scream, I came to a conclusion. He had lost his qualification as the hero. Ugh! A piercing scream echoed in the wreckage of the church and the corpses of the Crusaders. With tears running down his tears, Kultz still tried to lift the holy sword desperately. Chloe walked to her former comrade slowly. Despite all his shortcomings, Kultz was still her ex-comrade. Despite his stubbornness, the time they spent together was genuine. Kultz was definitely someone with talent to be a hero. However, that Kultz had long since gone. He started imposing his skewed beliefs on those around him. He doubted Chloe and even tried to kill her. He justified everything with his own idealism even though the truth was as clear as day. He tried to brush everything under the rug under his so-called version of justice. Though he had the potential to become a hero, he lacked the necessary growth and mental fortitude to be one. As a result, he was swallowed by his extreme ideology and righteousness, ultimately losing his qualification as a hero. No, he had lost his qualification as a human even. Ugh. Why? Question mark. Why did this happen? Question mark. Ugh. Farewell, Kultz. Taking a deep breath, Chloe crouched down and threw her knife at Kultz. This is your well-deserved punishment. The sharp tip of the knife pierced Kultz's neck. T/N took the holy sword long enough to abandon Kultz. But then again, the Crusaders can still use holy magic so. 63. Everyone's revenge. It was midnight. A man was desperately running through the forest near the church. This man's name was Himmler, the one who had served the Empire as its pope. Damn it. Damn it. It's over. It's all over. The moment he witnessed the Crusaders annihilated by Nia's magic, he burst out of his room like a madman. The faint hope lingering in his mind vanished in an instant, leaving only despair in its wake. He continued to run, even as he stumbled and his holy ceremonial dress was torn to shreds by the trees. That damned prince. Those worthless nobles. How dare they abandon me like this? He knew. The power of the demons he had seen earlier. The power of Shadow was absolute. Even if the Imperial Army came to help her, victory was still nowhere within his grasp. However, maybe if the Crown Prince had dispatched the black magicians he had told him about the other day, maybe they'd stood a chance against Shadow. In his desperate mind, only rage brewed. Again and again, dozens of times. Hundreds of times. He cursed the imperial family and the prince, all while forcing his fat legs to move. Damn it. Cough. He was out of breath. He was crying even, but he couldn't afford to stop running. Though trying to defeat the demons might seem impossible now, but at least the demons were distracted by Kultz. The Pope was still holding on to a sliver of hope that he might be able to escape. What would he do after he escaped though? Leave the Empire? However, right now, he couldn't bother thinking about what to do next. Fear was coursing through his veins. His survival instinct was screaming at him. Despite his disgusting appearance, Himmler was still trying to save his life. They're definitely going to kill me. Knowing how cruel the demon, Kai could be, he forced his legs to run. The Pope wanted to live. Even though he had trampled upon countless women's dignity, even though he had toyed with people's life, he still wanted to live. Fortunately, as if in response to his wish to live, a light could be seen in the distance. A light meant life. It meant there was somebody there. To the Pope, who had been trembling from fear, the light he saw was practically his savior. He couldn't even remember the direction he had been running. However, he was positive there must be residential houses nearby. He could ask for a potion and escape from this country. It'll be fine. I will go somewhere far away and live quietly after that. Hope sprouted and the Pope dashed forward. The light grew stronger and there he saw the sight of dozens of people. Please help me. I'm Himmler, the Pope. Right now, the demons are slaughtering the Crusaders, the Pope yelled as he emerged from the forest, but the moment he saw the faces of the people who had been waiting for him, his mouth was left open in disbelief. Dozens of people were standing there, each of them wielding dangerous weapons. They were all staring at him with faces full of disgust and hatred. However, that it was just the tip of the iceberg. The thing that shocked him the most was the sight of 3 girls standing directly in front of him. Your sins will not be forgiven, Pope. The girl standing on the left was Yenny, the daughter of Zinnemann. She was the victim of his fake holy water, and until recently, this poor girl had been in comatose. Are you ready to be burned at the stake? Standing on the right was Real, the girl whose mother he had burned at the stake wrongfully. Real had been obsessed in taking revenge ever since then. And lastly, Himmler-sama. Seeing the face of the girl standing in the middle, the Pope suddenly fell to the ground. After all, that girl was the one he had taken in. The one he had raised. Someone who should have been on his side. You've ruined your last chance, Alwyn. You should have apologized. You should have begged for forgiveness from everyone, and yet you chose to hide your sins by committing an even greater sin. Why are you here? Why are all of you here? We're the resistance. Real spoke quietly. A smirk was forming on her lips. We're a gathering of people who have been driven to despair by your church and the atrocities the Empire has committed. Resistance? You. Do you know what this is, Pope? Despite the growing hostility thrown by the Pope, Real calmly took out a bottle from her pocket and shook it slightly. She looked downright cruel now, a stark difference from how timid she normally behaved. Upon seeing the color of the liquid swirling inside the bottle, the Pope flinched. Power elixir? But why now? Don't tell me. Yes, that's right. Taking a deep breath, Real looked up at the sky. Not a single cloud to be seen. The beautiful night sky was in full bloom. Beneath it, an endless stream of torture was about to begin. You can't die until every person here has exacted their revenge on you. You see, this potion. It's quite effective, you know. Prepare yourself, Pope. Dozens of people waiting behind Real gradually approached the Pope. Amidst the chilling screams echoing in the space, Real's voice rang out loud and clear. We'll make sure you pay for all the pain we've endured so far. It was a declaration of vengeance. 64. You need to suffer more. After tossing Coltz's body away and casting a curse of black magic on the holy swords, the 3 of us slowly traced the back alleys of the church. Do you really think this is the way to go? Most probably. This path is the closest one to the Pope's office, and it's also the farthest from where we were fighting. The Pope must be scared shitless now. If he were to escape, he would choose the path farthest from where we were out of instinct. If my prediction was correct, Real and the others should be facing the Pope by now. Real, I'd like to ask you to finish the Pope. Can I count on you for that? Yeah. I will do it. Kai is the one asking it after all. Besides, he's the scum that killed my mother, the townsfolk and resistance. The stage set to kill the Pope had been prepared by Real and me. Under the guise of trading power elixirs, we've summoned the members of resistance to the capital. We spread the rumor of the church's sin among the townsfolk, further exposing the Pope's dark side. As a result, a giant encirclement network had been created with the church as the center. It was like a massive siege set up solely to hunt down the Pope. But won't we attract the attention of the Imperial Army if we mobilized that many people? The army might try to suppress us before we get to do anything. Real asked me that before the plan took off. I nodded quietly at her question and began the details of my plan to her. That's why, we need to have everyone move separately and discreetly as much as possible. When we send out the signal, I want everyone to surround the church. How does that sound? What kind of signal? An explosion at the church, a grand move that could annihilate hundreds of crusaders in one single strike. The shockwave could be felt even beyond the church walls. The Pope would become so scared and he'd try to escape. That explosion should serve as the perfect signal. Are you sure it'll be okay? An explosion of that caliber will definitely get noticed by the army. They might try to kill everyone that gathers around the church instead. If it comes to that, then we'll have no other choice. It's time for a war. War might be the extreme choice of actions, but it was plausible. We were planning to attack the church heart-on, the symbol and the heart of the empire in the capital. What we were already doing right now was practically an act of terrorism. Normally, anyone that dared to attack the church would be at risk of waging war against the whole empire, and yet somehow, we were still at peace. Hence why I started to come to a conclusion. You see, don't you think something is strange? What do you mean? Why is the empire not doing anything about us? The nobles too. A major incident where the church was attacked and over 100 crusaders were slaughtered in a single night. The nobles and the imperial army would have tried to do something by now, and yet they're not making a single move up until now. Don't tell me the imperial army has abandoned the church? That's what I'm thinking about. In fact, there are plenty of articles criticizing the Pope's action circulating in the public, and yet the imperial family hasn't made any statement about it. No matter how tyrannous the empire was, the imperial family still needed to keep a leash on the public's opinion. There was no way the imperial family weren't aware how much influence the newspaper wielded through their articles. Yet, this lack of response from the imperial family could only mean the Pope has no allies left. Not a single one. The Pope was by himself now. He didn't have anyone to help him. He was fated to die alone. A lonely and miserable death. Ugh. No. No. His disgusting screams echoed. The Pope, bound and dragged throughout the town square, was struggling out of his rope desperately. He was still trying to find a way to escape. Still focused on running from this hell. However, such wishful wishes were swiftly drowned by the pain that kept coming. The hopes seemed to drift further and further away from him. Cough. Cough. You. How dare you deceive us by selling that useless water? Holy water, you said? Do you even know how much money you've taken from me? While he was dragged through the road, a man on his right kicked the Pope in the stomach. The man's anger had accumulated over time. He could finally vented it out at the Pope now. Alwyn. Paul, please. Help me. Help me, Alwyn. You're the one that have to help me. The only one that should be. Ugh, I never liked you from the start. Do you know my friend? Just because he refused to donate to the church, his business went bankrupt. No one was willing to listen to him even when he went to voice his protest at the newspaper. Because of you, he committed suicide. It's all your fault. Ugh. You are. This time, someone punched him in the face. The Pope was drowning in the depths of despair, and yet, no one came to his aid. This was his punishment. He was merely reaping what he had sown. This was the seed of his own evil. Alwyn. Please. Alwyn. Look over here. Look at me. Shut up. Huh? Instead of a punch, now someone stabbed him. The man who had been dragging him suddenly stabbed the Pope in the shoulder with a knife. Immediately, blood spurted forth from the wound and the Pope's scream grew even louder. You're the one who burned my fiancé at the stake. The man who had remained silent until now trembled from fury. He was unable to contain his hatred any longer. You burned my child right in front of me. Ugh. I definitely won't let you off that easily. I will make you experience the worst pain ever. I will make you feel all the pain my child has gone through. It was hell. This was definitely hell on the world for the Pope. No, this is strange. Dozens of people are walking down the streets with me tied on the rope. They're dragging me away so publicly like this, and yet, why aren't there any guards coming in? Where did everyone go? Am I really abandoned by the others? Is death the only option left for me? No, I don't want that. No. Whydid things turn out like this? Ugh. Alwyn. Alwyn. I beg you. Just once. Please just look at me one more time. You used to be by my side, right? Alwyn. Upon hearing the Pope's scream, Alwyn, who was walking at the front, frowned even more. Although she had been holding hands with Real since the beginning of this torture session, but it was no use. Overwhelming complex of emotions were surging within her, leaving her feeling helpless. With a face on the verge of tears, Alwyn trembled. Eventually, unable to endure any longer, She turned around to face the Pope. Oh, ooh. Alwyn. Finally, Himmler-sama. The people gathered began to murmur among themselves. Alwyn stepped away from the front and approached the Pope. Naturally, all other movements came to a halt. The Pope gazed at Alwyn as if he was staring at his savior. Yes. Alwyn is my ally. No matter how much she hates me, no matter how many shameful sides of me Alwyn has come to witness, Alwyn will still be on my side. After all, I'm the one who has raised her. Is it painful, Himmler-sama? Yes. That's right. Please listen to me, Alwyn. I really couldn't help it. The situations was truly unavoidable. Does it hurt, Himmler-sama? It hurts. Alwyn, please believe me. You must not let yourself be deceived by the demons. You have to repent and return with me to the imperial family. Ha ha ha. However, what came from her was not just an exasperated sigh, but an outright mockery. Ah ha ha. You foo-fa-foo. Foo-fa-fa-foo. Alwyn, foo-fa-fa-foo. Ah ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Alwyn? Why do you keep ARGH? However, the Pope's voice was interrupted by a cry of agony. A knife was thrusted into the Pope's shoulder. It was Alwyn. She had infused the knife with magic, driving it deeper into the Pope's body. Yes. The magic in the knife had made it so powerful that the blade had shattered the bones and destroyed the cells around. It must have hurt, right? Himmler-sama. Arg? Alwyn, please, suffer some more. With tears streaming down her face, Alwyn continued on. You still need to suffer more. T/N. Okay, but Yan dear, Alwyn is kinda. 65, the light of revolution. Kai, those are. Yeah, it's already started. Nia pointed to an area where the Pope was supposed to be tied up and being brutally beaten by the people. Many people were kicking, hitting and pouring power elixirs at him. Once his wounds were healed by the elixir, the people would start to torment him again, repeating the same cycle endlessly. That being said, power elixir could only heal the wounds. It couldn't numb the pain, so the Pope was receiving all of the pain in its entirety. He must be going through so much pain right now. Gaha. Help me, please. The Pope fell to the ground disgracefully. Tears stained with blood were running down his face. Sighing deeply, I approached him together with Nia and Chloe. Shadow demon. As soon as we appeared, the people started trembling with fear. Even those who were busy trampling the Pope stopped moving and stared at us. Their reaction was understandable though. For all they knew, Shadow was a group of demons and they still had lingering fear that we might attack them just like the demons in prophecy. But here, the only person we were going to kill was the Pope. Kai, welcome back. Yeah, I'm back, Real. I greeted Real, who played a significant role in herding the people before turning my attention to Alwyn. Just as I expected, she looked grim. It wasn't a surprise too. After all, the savior of her life was being beaten to death right in front of her eyes. But still, she really kept her word. She actually witnessed everything without interfering. Arg. 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 The Pope immediately started screaming upon seeing us. Shrugging my shoulders, I crouched down and grabbed him by the hair. I told you, didn't I? You have to apologize for all your sins properly. Confess everything to the people and beg for forgiveness on your knees, but look at what you choose. Kikiak. Just so you know, the chance wasn't given by me, but by Alwyn. And yet, you still managed to betray her so magnificently. You really have no one else to blame but yourself even if you get beaten to death by the people here, you know. Despite my attempt to talk to him gently, the Pope was still screaming at the top of his lungs to the point his voice became hoarse. Well, not like I could care less about him. Feel free to continue. Please, go ahead and torment him to your heart's content. I stood up and turned around to the people. All of their eyes were locked on me. The commotion spread and the ordinary civilians were looking at me in confusion. These civilians weren't part of the resistance. They were really here just by chance. Why are they reacting like that? I was about to ask them when suddenly, one of the men approached me timidly. Why would you go this far, huh? This far? You're the one that exposed the true nature of the laboratory hidden in the slum and you also helped blacksmith Azinamant-san, didn't you? Not only that. You also brought down the church and the Pope. You're a demon, So why would you do something like this for us? Over 100 pairs of eyes gathered there were focused on me. Everyone was waiting for my response with bated breath. Well, I don't know why they're asking me that, but, shrugging my shoulders, I spoke the words that I truly resonated with from the bottom of my heart. Simply put, I'm disgusted. Disgusted? Yes. I'm disgusted at those higher-ups of the Empire who are exploiting other people for their own nefarious purposes. How do I say it? They don't treat humans as humans, you know. Most of the gruesome facts of the Empire that I came to witness were mostly things I didn't know before. Sure, I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it in detail. Like Jebel's secret wish, the Empire's true goal, how the Pope had treated innocent women as sex slaves. Each of them were very shocking to me and honestly, so utterly disgusting. This was also the reason why my hatred for the Empire grew stronger and stronger. This shitty country disgusts me so much. So, I'm thinking of destroying this Empire. Just so you know, I'm not a hero or anything grand like that. It's just, there are too many disgusting bastards in this world. That's all. I guess I'm not a hero. I'm not doing all of these for justice or anything. I only wish to live peacefully with my precious people, like Nya, Chloe and Real. I'm just an ordinary person. I don't have any grand ideology like cults. I just happen to have power and the disgusting people just happen to be right in front of me. So, I just feel like giving them a little punishment. Then, I will be watching from over here. Please, feel free to let loose. No. No. Kill me. Just kill me already. Just kill me. ARGH. Don't you dare think you can die so easily, you bastard. The Pope groaned after I kicked him in the stomach. I crouched down again and spoke to the Pope, who was still writhing in pain. You're not allowed to die until everyone here has finished fulfilling their revenge against you. ARG. WHY. So such horrible. You are. I kicked him in the stomach again before tilting my head to the side and smirked. Why? It's all your well-deserved punishment. You better reflect on all those sins you've committed. Leaving only those words behind, I stood up and then, cheers erupted from behind me. I turned around to see everyone gathered in the square raising their hands and shouting excitedly, "Hail demon! Hail shadow! Destroy the Empire! Burn that shitty Pope at the stake!" Waves of strong emotion, bordering on madness, spread among the people. I glanced at Nia and Chloe, who were standing beside me. I then smiled wryly. Well then, everyone. Please enjoy yourselves to your heart's content. ARG. I could hear the Pope screaming again, but I pretended not to notice. The moment I backed away, the people swarmed upon him like a swarm of bees. Cough. Cough. No. No more. Just kill me. Please. The heck are you talking about? Do you have any idea how many people have died because of you? Oi. Don't hit the vital spots just yet. We mustn't let him die yet. UGH? Ugh. AHHH. This was not justice or anything. I knew well anyone witnessing this scene right now would only have one word to describe this. Madness. Over 100 people were laughing as they hit, kicked and slammed the Pope to the ground. However, in a mad world like this, why should we live uprightly? Any idealistic thoughts would pale in comparison to the harsh reality. Heroes like cults could talk about ideology and justice, but not me. I was just a human. A human that happened to be reincarnated into this world and gained some wonderful powers. I just happened to be blessed with good comrades. Hence why, I would watch over this scene attentively. After all, I wasn't some noble hero or anything. I was just an ordinary person who wished to get rid of this disgusting shit staining my eyes. I just wanted to feel refreshed by cleaning this world from shitty people like him. Bring the power elixir. Pour it on him and let's hit him one more time. UGH. Cough. Cough. The violence driven by vengeance went on to no end. I glanced at Alwyn, who was standing next to me. Alwyn, are you sure you want to keep on watching? Yes. Alwyn looked like she was going to burst into tears at any given moment. Various emotions were swirling on her face. It was clear to see that her sanity was being chipped away as she watched the Pope being tortured by the people. And yet, Alwyn didn't look away. She kept her gaze fixed on the scene without looking away. "It is my duty to witness everything with my own eyes. I see." I didn't say anything more. I also witnessed everything together with Nya, Chloe and Real. I watched as the Pope was stabbed with a knife. I watched as the Pope was healed with potions, and finally, the Pope was forced to stand on the pile of firewood that had been prepared by the people. Yuck. Eek. No. Don't. Ugh. The fire blazed higher and higher, as if the fire was fueled by seeing how completely torn apart the Pope was. The fire illuminated the midnight sky, soaring high and bright. This was the light of revolution. T/N, Viva la Revolution. 66. On the same boat, the Pope's public execution left a significant impact on the empire. Of course. After all, the church was the symbol of the empire, and that symbol was completely destroyed in one night. I was sitting in my chair in one of the rooms at Real's mansion. Leaning back in my chair, I sighed. Phew. After the Pope's death, the revolutionary movements in the city became much more active. The various crimes the church had committed instilled discontent in the people's heart, and now that the resistance had emerged, people started to grow bolder. The capital was littered with posters to recruit members for the resistance. And of course, the one leading the resistance was none but me. I never imagined things would end up in this way, though. I could understand why they respect me. I was the one that exposed the church's sins, destroyed the Crusaders, and also captured the Pope for the people to feast their vengeance on. On top of that, I also personally rescued the women who had been sexually violated in the basement of the church. I had taken direct actions to stop the church from torturing the people even further. I didn't plan to make this resistance or whatever, though. Things just somehow rolled in this way. Besides, that prophecy, the prophecy about how demons would devour this world and repaint it from scratch. That prophecy was news to me. I didn't know anything about that when I played the game. However, it seemed that prophecy was a well-known story in this empire. So much so that the people truly believed the prophecy would come true. And yet, it turned out the demons they had been fearing were actually on their side, helping them even. To those people, I must seem like their savior. Well, that being said, I'm only able to go this far thanks to my wonderful comrades. It's all because I have Nya, Chloe and Real with me, I thought to myself when suddenly, I heard someone knocking at the door. "Kai-san, can I come in?" "Sure." It was Alwyn's voice. She, someone who could be considered as a victim in this incident, stood before me. Her expression was somewhat haggard. I, still seated, gave her a wry smile. "Are you okay?" "I'm okay." "No, I am not," she smiled as she said that. Though her exhaustion was evident, I had no comforting words to offer in return. After witnessing the Pope's purge to the end, Alwyn had said that she would rebuild the church from the ground up. The church had been destroyed, leaving her only a scorched field to work on. However, she planned on eliminating all the bad practices that had taken root in the church. Reflecting on the church's past misdeeds, Alwyn wanted to create a church that could truly help the people. She knew that this was by no means an easy task, and yet, she still chose that path. "Are you going back to the church today?" "Yes. I've finished assessing the damage to the building and the church's assets, and besides, now that the Pope has passed away, I'm probably the only person that can act as the center of the church." This girl was originally the top candidate to be the next Pope. She must be feeling very responsible for the situation. "I will tell the members of the resistance to not mess with the church then." "Foo-foo. Thank you." "Ah, right. By the way, may I ask you just 2 questions?" "Yeah, feel free to ask me anything." "The members of the resistance. Where did they come from?" "I know the resistance was mainly active in the rural areas and the slums, which are far from the capital." Well, it's all thanks to Real. She used the people from her trading company to reach out to the resistance members and make them pose as merchants selling elixirs to enter the capital." "I see. So they were able to enter the capital because they had the official documents from the Rorty trading company." "That's right. Real has worked really hard, from managing the people and securing the funds." "Oh, and, I can sort of guess your second question." "Foo-foo. Alright, take a guess." "It's about cults, right?" I must have hit the mark since Alwyn only lowered her gaze. The news of Kultz's death had already spread throughout the empire, causing a great shock to the people. However, since people knew he had chosen to side with the church, there were hardly any people mourning his death. Sorry. What are you apologizing for? Despite knowing everything the church had done, Colt-sama still chose to protect the Pope. Kai, I don't think you did anything wrong. Still, he was your comrade. Wasn't he, Alwyn? I'm grateful to you, Kai. I was about to say something but her voice interrupted me mid-sentence. I am truly grateful to you, you know? Even if you killed my life savior and my comrade, I'm still grateful to you. Alwyn. After all, this is how it was meant to be from the beginning, Alwyn said, giving me a beaming smile. Although I could tell she was forcing herself to smile, but her smile really conveyed her true feelings. Compared to always living in lies, the current situation feels more right. Perhaps this is also part of God's guidance. Is that so? Yes. I don't resent you at all. In fact, I'm grateful to you and also. Foo. No, it's nothing. Alwyn chuckled, as if something was tickling her. Her sudden laugh caused my eyes to widen in surprise. Seeing my reaction, Alwyn only shook her head and sighed. Then, the next words that came out of her mouth showed her strong determination. As a member of the clergy, the royal family must have known about the church's misdeeds too. Yeah. After all, the royal family and the church are tightly linked together. Indeed. That's why, please, Kai, just as prophesied by God, please rebuild this evil-infested empire from the ground up. If the royal family is also a nest of evils just like the church, then please crush the royal family as well. It was something a cleric like her shouldn't say, but Alwyn's voice was filled with great confidence in me. I will always support you. You and Shadow. Forever. Yes. Thank you, Alwyn. She would never step into the shadow, but that was fine. The fact still remained that she was one of our comrades. I stood up and offered my hand to her first. Smiling, Alwyn took my hand and shook it. I also shook her hand back and then I pondered. Just what were we doing exactly? The Pope was dead. The hero was dead. A revolution was happening. Just what was the royal family doing now? What were they plotting? What were they up to now? 3 days after the Pope was purged in the square, inside the imperial audience chamber, renowned nobles were gathering there. They were waiting for one person to come. All of them looked anxious. The day after the incident, they had received a notice to gather in the imperial audience chamber at this hour today. No matter how high the status of the sender was, high-ranking nobles like them wouldn't have gathered together so easily like this. However, over 30 nobles had gathered in this audience chamber. From dukes to earls, everyone was here, leaving no single chair empty. Everyone was here because they didn't want to become the victims of the revolution. Phew. One of the nobles sighed wearily. The room was reeking with fear. Their fear was not unfounded though. In just one night, the Crusaders were crushed. The Pope was purged in public and even Colt, the hero, was squandered by the demon. The people's bottled-up dissatisfaction had exploded. Anything could happen now. On top of that, those demons, Shadow, were siding with the resistance. If a full-fledged revolution were to occur, they knew their heads would be the first thing to roll on the grounds. They knew they were easier to target compared than the royal family, especially considering all of their sins they had accumulated. When is he coming? TCH. Don't tell me, he ran away. Is he leaving us alone in this mess? Count Gran, are you trying to say that you don't believe in that person's words? He said the experiment is a success. How can you talk about experiments in the middle of this mess, Count Gainey? Don't you understand? A revolution is happening right in front of us. Right here, in the capital. The demons are here. That's precisely why we need to put our faith in him. That person is the only one that can fight the demons. That's right, only I can fight them. At that moment, a man entered the audience chamber, effectively breaking the tense atmosphere. The man looked oddly confident. This man was Adolf. Now, we're on the same boat now. Fate has truly brought us together. Adolf was the second prince of this country and he was also the person that promised eternal life to the nobles gathered here. There's no turning back now, is there? Ha ha ha! Exclamation mark tilde. He laughed heartily while staring at how tense the nobles were. T/N, time for the nobles to get executed? Let's go. 67, The demon in prophecy. The second prince, Adolf, sat down on the throne confidently. From across the seat of the emperor, he looked down at the gathered nobles pompously. The nobles showed a mix of various emotions. Fear of the demons and the resistance. Resentment of themselves for remaining silent until things had come to this, and then a faint glimmer of hope. Adolf couldn't stop laughing out loud seeing those nobles. Dozens of his pawns were sitting nervously. They were cornered like a filthy rat. It was a rather amusing sight to watch. Well, first of all, I believe I owe an apology to everyone. However, the nobles here were important tools to uphold the empire. The prince knew he'd be in trouble if they were to stop supporting him, hence why Adolf started his speech with an apology. I didn't expect the demons, shadows, would infiltrate the capital and destroy the church. I truly never imagined they could annihilate over 100 trained crusaders in just one night. Indeed. As expected from the demons. However, it turned out refusing the Pope's plea for help was the right thing after all. I couldn't afford to lose the support of the citizens. One of the nobles frowned, wondering how come the prince could remain so composed. Your Highness. Count Gran, the person who had expressed his dissatisfaction earlier, stood up and called to Adolf. I'm aware I may be overstepping my boundaries, but I believe it's about time for your Highness to take action soon. The resistance and the demon in prophecy are in the capital, in the heart of the empire. The nobles are living in fear since we might get attacked by them at any moment. Ah, yeah. I'm well aware of that, TCH. But this is different from what was promised. Your Highness, we were promised to be given immortal bodies and unimaginable power in exchange for helping with your experiments. Yeah, and the experiment was a success. Pardon? The room fell silent in an instant upon hearing how nonchalant the prince was being. What did the prince just say? The experiment was a success? But the timing. As you can see, I'm not stupid. I'm not that foolish enough to just sit here and do nothing when the demons and rebels are nearby. Really? The experiment? It was a success? That's right. Congratulations. Now all of you can continue to wield great power in this country forever. After all, this is the kind of magic that absorbs human life force. The faces of the previously discontented nobles lit up all at once. The prince stood up from the throne and smirked. I will place black magic circles in various places throughout the capital. Then, I will be able to absorb the life force of the people in that area. That life force then will be condensed into a crystal. The prince took out a small, diamond-shaped crystal from his pocket. This crystal was the result of his experiments. This is the result of the experiment I've told all of you. This is the mercurial cube. This crystal can hold both human life force and black magic concurrently, allowing it to serve as the perfect medium for all magic power. The sound of audible gulping could be heard in the room. The nobles stared intently at the small crystal. However, Count Gran only furrowed his eyebrows. I see. So we can absorb the life force of the resistance by activating the magic circle while holding that crystal. Then, we can extend our lifespan by using the life force accumulated in that crystal. Wonderful. Contrary to your appearance, you're quick on the uptake. How surprising. Even though you look like a brainless monkey! The prince smiled mockingly and Count Gran's face immediately turned bright red. His unsightly face and his commoner background were Count Gran's insecurities. Unable to withstand the insult, Count Gran immediately stood up. However, the prince only continued to smirk at him, as if pouring fuel on the fire. Ah, my apologies. I didn't know a monkey such as yourself can understand human language. Your Highness, may I ask you one last question? Why yes, of course you may. Putting the issue with the resistance aside, how do you plan to defeat the demons? I don't see the demons mentioned in the plan you mentioned. I see. Gran's question was perfectly valid. Indeed. They wouldn't be able to defeat the demons with black magic circle. After all, the demons were more talented in black magic than mere humans. The noble's attention was entirely focused on the prince. Enjoying the attention, the prince's smirk grew wider. Well then, I will explain how to use this crystal to everyone while answering Count Gran's question at the same time. The prince walked to the center of the room. He slowly approached Count Gran while holding the crystal in his hand. Count Gran glared at the prince. His eyes were filled with intense hatred from being insulted right in front of the other nobles. He hated being looked down more than anything in the world. His fists were trembling from anger. The prince then dangled the transparent crystal in front of his face. The crystal then suddenly turned black and at the same time, Ugh. Squelch. The sound of human flesh being torn apart reverberated in the room. Gran suddenly felt an immense pain in his stomach. Looking down, he saw a fist was lodged in his stomach. He had been punched by the prince straight through his abdomen. Not deep enough. Frowning in displeasure, the prince pulled his fist out. His whole hand was covered in blood. Why? Why is this happening? Gran thought to himself when suddenly, his stomach was punched by the prince again. This time, the pain shot through to his back, giving him the illusion of being pierced by something. However, unfortunately for Count Gran, it wasn't an illusion. Cough. Pwah. Gah. Arg. This time, the prince's fist pierced through Gran's body and finally, the prince smiled in satisfaction. Red blood splattered to Gran's own face. Seeing Gran's face covered in his own blood brought the prince great joy. He actually felt pleasure from it. After all, this was the kind of pleasure he should feel. This emotion made him feel more like himself. Yo you bastard. Ah, right. Regarding your earlier question, the prince spoke softly. He was basking in the pleasure from hearing Gran's blood-choked screams. The reason why Shadow can never defeat me. Do you know why? You bastard. You fuck. Because I'm a demon. Count Gran breathed his last breath by coughing his blood at the demon's face. With deep crimson blood staining his face, the demon continued on. They're not the demon in prophecy. It's me. I'm the demon in the prophecy. T/N. Alright, but the way the prince kills Count Gran is kinda. 68. A pact with the demon. Yo, your highness. What are you doing? The nobles were aghast upon witnessing the shocking turn of events. They couldn't believe their eyes. Why? Sure, Gran had acted disrespectfully, but there was no need to kill over that. Besides, the prince said he was the demon in prophecy. Why would he claim to be the demon in prophecy? Oh? I haven't explained it yet. Have I? In the midst of a flurry of confusion, the prince nonchalantly withdrew his fist from Gran's lifeless body and held up the crystal so the remaining nobles could see it clearly. The eerie sound of a corpse falling behind him could be heard, and despite the blood dripping from his hand, the prince's expression remained unchanged as he flaunted the now white crystal. Just before I killed Gran, I infused black magic into this crystal. This crystal will turn jet black upon receiving black magic, and by putting it inside someone's body, we can absorb that person's life force, just like what I did to Gran. But then, the prince muttered softly, we actually don't need to actually pierce someone's body if we have a magic circle in place though. However, his voice was too low to be heard by the other nobles. The prince's calm demeanor instilled an instinctual fear in them. Even though this person was a prince, but he shouldn't be allowed to kill a noble that easily. And yet, not one of them dared to bring this matter out loud. They knew who held the actual power in this room. The prince continued his explanation. Now that he was covered in Gran's blood, the prince looked more like a mad murderer than a prince. Now then, please take a good look at the color of this crystal. It's white, as a symbol of human life force. Gran's life force is trapped within this very crystal. The next thing to do is... In that very next moment, the prince raised the crystal high and stabbed his own arm with the crystal. A chorus of pathetic cries came from the nobles. However, the sight that followed after that was beyond their wildest imagination, so much so that all of their eyes widened in shock. Phew. Ah. Phew. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. The crystal was melting into the prince's skin, as if the crystal was being absorbed by the prince's body. The white life force surged through the prince's body and the prince shuddered with pleasure, smiling joyfully. Facing the still stunned nobles, the prince spread his arms wide. By absorbing the crystal into your body, you can take another person's life force and extend your own lifespan. Does anyone have any questions to ask? Anyone? The prince asked, but of course no one dared to voice any question no matter how confused they were. The prince had instilled fear into their very bones. A single wrong word could get them killed. The prince understood. He knew the nobles were afraid of him. Heck, this was precisely the reason why he had summoned all of them. He wanted to warn them. It didn't matter if they were nobles. Their rank and status didn't matter. If anyone dared to step out of line, they could be killed just like this. For those nobles, who were afraid of getting attacked by either the resistance or the demons, relying on the prince was their only option now. I guess it would be better to continue this conversation another time. Well then, I shall take my leave now. The prince walked away from the throne without giving more explanations. The prince didn't tell them how to defeat the demons, nor whether the crystal could truly extend one's lifespan. Even if they were to scatter black magic circles all over the town, the nobles still didn't know for sure that they would be safe. Besides, the nobles also didn't understand what the prince meant when he said he was the demon in prophecy. No further explanations were given to them. All they knew was the existence of the mercurial cube. However, the prince believed that was enough for them. Bring the corpse to the basement. You don't need to wrap it or anything. Just bring it down as it is. Goring will handle the rest. Yes, sir. The prince summoned the knight to handle the corpse before leaving the audience chamber. He didn't have any reason to spend any more time on these nobles. While it was true that these nobles were important to keep the country running and the prince would keep them alive if he could, but the prince had no intention of sharing his secrets with them, because the protagonist of the story should act like a protagonist. The protagonist had to stay true to their role and goal. Phew. Maybe I should take a shower, Adolf muttered to himself upon returning to his office and seeing the sight of himself in the full-length mirror. Then, his gaze shifted to the monster sitting by the window. A demon. It had a humanoid form, but the demon was 2 sizes taller than an adult male. The demon was entirely pitch black and its eyes glowed in yellow. The demon looked eerily menacing. This demon had been by his side for a long time ago. Am I really the demon in prophecy? Adolf asked again, as if he wished to receive validation from the demon. The demon chuckled. His tone was laced with sarcasm. Yeah. As long as I have your life force then, yes. Arg. Ugh. It hurts. Where am I? Something is running around inside my body, making me feel sick. What the heck is happening to me? This is... Huh? At that moment, something resembling a message bar appeared in front of him. The screen was blinking unsteadily, as if the screen would disappear at any given moment. And yet, the screen looked unusually bright. He read the words written on the screen. The other future that could not be walked. Do you wish to view it? Yes, no. Yes, no. What does it mean? However, the phrase another future that couldn't be walked wouldn't leave his mind. Does it mean I have to choose between these 2 options? Ugh. Arg. I want to see. I want to see the future that I couldn't walk. I want to see the future where everything is going well. However, he didn't understand what yes and no meant. Because the words were written in English. Moreover, even if he could see it, he couldn't move his finger to choose. It was as if something was dragging his consciousness out of his body forcibly. And yet, the man struggled on. No, show it to me. Please. The fleeting wish that didn't come true. The square screen suddenly disappeared. But in the next moment, the other future that could not be walked. Do you wish to view it? Yes, no. Without flickering, the message bar reappeared before him. The options were still the 2. Please. Even though his body was in tatters, he managed to utter his feeble voice out despite the intense pain coursing through his body. Show it to me. Please. Then, the moment those words escaped his lips, viewing starts. His vision was engulfed in bright light and his consciousness was transported to a completely different world. T/N, that's Colts, right? Is he going to the modern world next? Question mark or what? 69. The future that was devoured. When he opened his eyes again, he was met with a thick reddish-black smoke. Standing there were a girl with black wings and 3 other people that were facing her. When he saw the faces of those 3 people, his eyes widened in disbelief. Wow! He recognized their faces. There was no way he wouldn't. After all, the ones standing before the black-winged girl were himself, Alwyn and Brian. So the future that I couldn't walk means a version of myself from a different world. The 3 of them fought against the black-winged girl and after an intense battle, all 3 of them were left in a rough shape. Brian was bleeding from her forehead. Alwyn had already collapsed on the ground. Yet, The other version of himself was still gripping to his sword tightly. His face was filled with determination, the embodiment of a hero he had always aspired to be, and of course, the black-winged girl was demon. He remembered that face. He caught a glimpse of this girl when he was defeated by Kai in the underground laboratory near the slum. For some reason, the girl was shedding tears of blood and the girl was trembling violently. Why? The girl asked the other version of himself. Shut up, demon. I'm. The girl was in tatters. She couldn't even stand up anymore. Because of you, tens of thousands of people have died. You're not human. You're a walking disaster. You're better off dead. No. I just. The other version of himself raised the holy sword high. The girl gazed at the holy sword that was about to strike her and then, she uttered her final words. I only wished for ordinary happiness. That was the end of Nya, the Witch of Tears. The other version of himself defeated the demon and saved the world. Kults-sama. Kults. And in this world, Kults wasn't alone. The other version of himself was a proper hero. He turned to his comrades with a refreshing smile on his face. It's done. Finally, it's over. Yes. It's really over now, right? I can't do this anymore. I just want to go back home and live peacefully. Ha. Going back alone. That's not fair, Brian. You promised you will show us around your hometown one day, remember? An unbelievably peaceful scene. Kults gazed at the sight shown before him and he couldn't close his mouth. It was so different from the life he had experienced himself. He had never bonded with his comrades like this. He had never heard anything about Brian's hometown and it had been ages since Alwyn stared at him with eyes full of trust like that. How envious. I also want to be like him. He reached his hand out, even though he knew there was an invisible barrier between them. Yet, he couldn't stop himself from longing for this future. However, just before his hand could reach it, the scenery suddenly changed. The next scene that unfolded before him was the sight of a smiling black-haired boy with mismatched eyes. It was Kai, the demon. The boy was surrounded by girls. There was the silver-haired, red-eyed demon they had just defeated earlier. There was a frail-looking girl he had never seen before. This frail-looking girl was staring at the boy lovingly. Then, the moment he saw the face of the black-haired girl, he was agape. Wow, a face that he would recognize over a mile away. Someone whose face he could never mistake. After all, this was the girl that had killed him. Her black hair was cascading down to her shoulders and her distinctive golden eyes. There was no mistaking it. It was Chloe, the assassin. The person who had killed him was laughing, blushing at the demon he hated the most. And that wasn't it all. Why are you all here? Even Alwyn and Brian were there. Although the two of them were keeping their distance from him compared to those three girls earlier, both Alwyn and Brian looked undoubtedly happy to be there. Even though that boy was a demon. Even though those people were the enemies who had killed him. Why? How could they laugh in front of Chloe and Kai? Damn it. The future I couldn't walk. The heck? Are you trying to insult me by showing me this rubbish hallucinations? However, before he could finish speaking, the scene changed again. This time, it showed the sight of him kneeling before Adolf, the second prince. They were in the courtyard of the palace. The sun was dazzling. The sky was clear and there were soldiers lined up in rows. Adolf, with a crown on his face, spoke to Kults. Kults, you are the hero who has defeated the demon and brings prosperity back to the empire. From this moment forth, I declare you to be the commander of this country's knights. Just by hearing those words, Kults knew what was happening. Adolf had ascended to the throne and he was appointing him as the commander of the knights. The other version of himself nodded resolutely and was smiling faintly. In this world, everything turned out well. How enviable. If only I could be like that too. Kai-sama is our king. Kai-sama, who has defeated those worthless hero and prince, is now our king. Thank you. Thank you so much. Kai-sama. We will follow you for the rest of our lives. I told you already. I'm not interested in becoming a king. Why is everyone gathering here? Yuah, what is this? Once again, his vision, but he quickly recognized this scene. They were in Adel, the capital. The city was bustling with people. But why? Why is the demon being thanked by all the citizens? Why does everyone seem to respect him? This is not right. That guy. He's our enemy. He's a demon. He could kill you guys at whims. He felt something bubbling up inside him. That something was growing, and when he felt like he was about to explode, someone new appeared before the demon. It was Alwyn. Seems like you're going to be the king at this rate. So? What will you do, Kai-sama? Alwyn. Don't say such strange things. Besides, you're a pope now. Why is the pope even here? Well, the pope must always stay with the people. So? What are you really going to do? All the people of the empire are saying they wish you to become their king. Like I said before, I don't have any intention of becoming a king. I'm not going to become one. The vision changed again. This time, he was staring at a small wooden house in an elven village. Haha, the elf's town is really peaceful, huh? I know, right? Everyone is so boring here. Sometimes I miss adventuring in the empire. It's been a while since we're all gathered together like this. Alwyn, you will become even busier once you become the pope, so how about the three of us go dungeon diving for a bit? Sorry, actually, there are a lot of things I need to do in this town. I see. It can't be helped then. His vision spun again, but the place remained the same. He was still staring at Brian's house. Kai hasn't paid any attention to us lately. That's true. Hey, Brian, what would elves do when their husbands cheat? No, but, you two aren't married yet, right? Why would you ask that, Chloe? But still. He already confessed to us, didn't he? He said he loves us. He proposed so wonderfully to me, near and real. The least he could do is take responsibility for us. And yet, Kai was talking with another woman yesterday. Another woman? But he was talking with Alwyn. You two are best friends, right? Right? Kai doesn't understand anything. He doesn't even notice that Alwyn has been acting a bit suspicious lately. Huh? What's that? No. Real, you're wrong, it's just a misunderstanding. There's no way. It's definitely not a misunderstanding. Besides, Brian has been acting a bit strange too lately. Brian? Hey, Brian? Say something? Brian? Question mark. What the heck is that? Chloe's angry tone was the last thing he heard before his vision plummeted into darkness again. The darkness engulfed him, making it hard for him to breathe. Why? His chest was burning. He couldn't breathe, causing him to fall down to his knees. What is this? What kind of future is this? Why are the demons smiling so happily? Why are their futures shining even more brilliantly than me? This is impossible. No, it can't be true. Alwyn and Brian. They're in love with that demon? No, it can't be. It's not true. It must never come true. That's right. Everything is a lie. All of it. Just a bunch of nonsense. I mean, there's no way this could happen. Those filthy demons. They dare to deceive me. No, you're wrong. At that moment, a familiar voice came up from behind him. You've also started to realize it too, haven't you? Thump. 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 Footsteps echoing loudly. You're no longer the protagonist of this story. You're not part of this story anymore. You bastard. Feeling like his heart was being crushed from within, Kultz turned his body around. He couldn't be satisfied, not until he punched the guy who was mocking him like this. However, the moment he saw the face of the speaker, he could do nothing but freeze in place. What you just saw earlier is their destiny. The destiny of the demon who killed you. They're rejoicing in victory in that future. Your destiny, your light, your honor. Everything belongs to him. Even the hearts of your comrades that you couldn't get. You bastard. Fufu, tell me, Kultz. The person in front of him, the other version of Kultz, whispered into his ear. Do you want to change your destiny, hero? T/N. So Kultz is still in limbo or darkness or whatever this is. 70. Corruption. Chapter 70, Corruption. Do you want to change your destiny, hero? Those words had an incredibly sweet ring to Kultz, the former hero. Change my destiny? Yes. Become a vendetta. Vendetta. A vendetta is a revenge carried out with everything you have. Kultz's eyes widened. Revenge carried out with everything he had. That was exactly what he had been hoping for. Before that, let me ask you one thing first. Who are you? Why do you have the same face as me? Why would you ask those obvious questions? Of course, it's because I am you. Huh? I am you, cults. The other cults in front of him grinned. All the inferiority, jealousy, despair and pain that you've harbored, that's what I am. I am your instinct. I am your true nature. After all, everyone has at least one demon deep in their heart. Wow. A demon? You bastard. What are you talking about? You want to kill him, don't you? The other cults interrupted him mid-sentence. Just like what you suffered in the underground laboratory, you also want to punch him, kick him and beat him to a pulp, don't you? You want him to experience the worst pain possible, right, cults? Demon. That's right. He's a demon, so why does he always win? Why is he destined to be happy? Obviously the answer is because he devoured your destiny. Cults remembered hearing similar words earlier. Your destiny, your light, your honor. Everything belongs to him. Even the hearts of your comrades that you couldn't get. You were robbed. Everything was taken from you. Didn't you see it just now? You are the protagonist of this story. You were supposed to defeat the demon, maintain close relationships with your comrades and flourish as the Knight Commander. You were meant to be the absolute hero, respected by everyone on this continent. That person should have been you. And yet, remember the scenes that you saw earlier. At this rate, all the respect and honor that should have belonged to you will be snatched by him. Even the hearts of your comrades. Alwyn, Brian, everything will be taken away by him. You want to get back at him, don't you? You want to cut him to pieces, don't you? You want to prove you're righteous by killing all of his comrades, don't you? Then, take my hand. I will give you power if you take my hand. Brimming with confidence, the other cults extended his hand. However, cults remained silent. Though he couldn't put it into words, but he somehow realized he was about to make a deal with the demon. Deep inside of his heart, he had a strong premonition that he could never return to what he once was. There was this vague fear inside of him, the fear of falling into the deep abyss completely. However, as if to dispel his hesitation, the other cults raised his index finger with his other hand and said, "Allow me to tell you one thing, cults." Huh? What? Revenge feels absolutely amazing. At those words, Cults' eyes widen once again. Revenge tastes exceptionally sweet. There's no greater pleasure than revenge. Just imagine it. The thrill of crushing the one that had taken everything from you. In fact, isn't that the reason why you always locked yourself away in the dungeon like a madman? You trained your hardest just so you can kill him. You are merely taking away what was rightfully yours. What are you hesitating for, cults? The other cults then waved his extended hand as he continued on nonchalantly. Not like you have anything left anyway. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. He didn't have anything. Nothing left at all. Those words pierced through Cults' heart, creating a ripple in it. That's right. What am I hesitating about now? Cults had already realized that gradually. His personal emotions had taken over. He was so fixated on defeating Kai not because the boy was a demon. Cults' personal emotion had taken precedence over his righteous cause. He wanted to see Kai suffer. He wanted to see Kai's face grimacing in pain. He wanted to see Kai filled with despair, battered and broken from his fist and sword. Hence why Cults locked himself away in the dungeon all day long. Defeating the demon because he was a hero? He only used that excuse as a convenient justification. That's right. You're right. I don't have anything left. Cults recalled the scene he had seen earlier. Alwyn and Brian. Everyone was smiling happily in front of Kai, the demon. In fact, he could see a glimpse of stronger emotion at the last part. A hint of love. A bunch of traitors. Revenge is sweet. Revenge tastes absolutely amazing. That's right. That's certainly true. After all, even now. Ha ha. Cults grabbed the outstretched hand. He shook hands with his other self. In his mind, he envisioned the sight of Kai crying out in pain. That's right. This is the real you. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Follow your instinct. Get your revenge and kill him, Cults. And then, Just when cults wondered why the other cults' form suddenly faded away from existence. Become vendetta. Kill anyone who stands in your way. The other cults melted into cults' body and disappeared. You're already awake. Faster than I expected. Where am I? You're in the demon's laboratory. Inside the dimly lit facility, Prince Adolf shouted maniacally as he stared at the half-ghoul cults. Ha ha. Ahahaha. Finally, I can finally kill that fake demon. This wasn't part of his original plan, but upon receiving a pawn that seemed to be useful, Adolf couldn't stop himself from trembling in joy. T/N, a half-ghoul. Not even half-demon. How pathetic. 71, Always Together. Chapter 71, Always Together. The day after Alwyn left, I was still brooding in Real's mansion. Something wrong is happening here. What is this uncomfortable feeling? The church had been thoroughly obliterated, leaving only the royal family to stand in our pathway. I would never pretend to be the hero of justice or anything, but I just couldn't turn a blind eye to those people that experimented with people's lives with black magic. Not to mention, the royal family had also allowed the church to exploit the citizens. The royal family was to be blamed for this too. Yet, I still couldn't come to a decision. Why? Because the current situation had deviated too much from the original game's storyline. Right. Everything had gone off rail a bit too much. Until now, I had been acting based on the original storyline of the game. However, the usurper of the Pope and sparking a revolution were never part of the game's storyline. Therefore, any decision I made from now on would be a gamble. I really don't know what the royal family is planning in detail. Feeling my head starting to ache, I sighed heavily. Adolf's subordinate, Jebels, had told us that the Empire's goal was to infect everyone with black magic and use the citizens as an energy source. They wanted to become more powerful in black magic by absorbing the people's life force. Just what was Adolf planning to do with all that energy though? What was his true purpose? The report from Resistance told us the royal family hadn't made their move yet either. Am I just being too overly cautious? No, but I was deep in my thoughts when suddenly, my door swung open with a thud. Standing there was my soul partner, Nia. A silver-haired, red-eyed devilish beauty. Nia tilde I deserve to have basic human rights, you know tilde why don't you try this thing called knocking tilde. Humphrey cheaters don't have basic human rights. Seemingly sulking from not getting too much attention recently, Nia puffed her cheeks out as she approached me. Without even bothering to close the door, she nonchalantly sat on my lap and leaned her back against me. Foo-foo, but you still want to act spoiled with a said cheater, ha tilde. I can't kill Kai, so I don't have any other choice. Just now, didn't you just say something incredibly dangerous? Hurry up and hug me tight, or I will sulk even more. With a resigned sigh, I tightly embraced Nia with both of my arms. I wanted to convey how important she was with my gesture, so I held her in my arms tightly. Nia let out a happy laugh before she placed her hands on my arms, snuggling even closer to me. Thinking back, it really had been a while since I last had this kind of physical affection with Nia. Foo-foo, I'm so happy. I'm sorry for not paying attention to you lately. Kai, I know you can't help but to struggle with your thoughts on your own, but sometimes, I want you to share your problem with me too. Well, I know I'm not that smart, so I doubt I can be of any help to you, but still. Nia, just by having you by my side is enough to give me the strength I need. You know, I said my true feelings out loud and I could see Nia's shoulder twitched. She then looked up at me. Her usually pale cheeks were now adorned with a hint of blush. Womanizer. Why would you say that in this kind of situation? You didn't even deny when I said I'm not that smart. You really are a cheater, Kai. No, wait. How does not denying it make me a cheater? Nia? I was confused why it was unusually noisy here, and just as I thought, Chloe entered the room with an expression of exasperation. She must have overheard our conversation since Nia left the door open. Of course, Chloe also didn't bother to close the door. Nia once again puffed her cheeks out in annoyance. As if anticipating this reaction, Cho sat on my desk and gently pinched Nia's squishy cheeks. Hey, don't make that face. It ruins your cute face. You know? Ugh. Mew mew mew. I'm not Chloe's doll. Foo-foo, you're so cute so I can't help it. Ah, right. Kai, Have you decided what to do next? You mean, about resistance? Yeah. You're more or less their leader now. At least, in their eyes. 4 days had passed since the church was destroyed. The members of resistance were itching to strike against the royal family. All of them harbored grievances against the country. They argued that this was the perfect time to launch an attack against the royal family while the iron was still hot. Of course, I could understand their point, but I had asked them to wait. Despite their high morale, many of our people were non-combatants. They were just ordinary commoners who had never fought a battle before. On the other side, the royal family had over thousands of trained soldiers in their arsenal. Not to mention, we still didn't know what kind of trump card the prince had. Hence why I asked them to wait while I gathered my thoughts. Yeah, I'm still struggling to know what to do. What about you, Chloe? What do you think? Me? I think we need to fight now. I see. So that's how you feel. Well, I know it's a bit too sudden and we haven't prepared enough yet. But just pondering about this endlessly won't get us anywhere. We don't need to go all out. It doesn't have to be a full-scale war from the start. We can just launch some small, strategic attacks. That shouldn't be a bad idea, right? I see. Well, I see your points there. Are you scared? Foo-foo, so even the demons in the prophecy still feel scared. Chloe chuckled softly. I was a bit offended, wondering what was funny for her to laugh. I narrowed my eyes and glared at Chloe. Of course I'm scared. Several hundreds of lives depend on me, and more importantly, I'm afraid of losing. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I looked down a bit before continuing. Chloe, you already know, right? Back in my original world, I was always alone. The only deep relationships with people I ever had were with Nya, you and Driel. Hence why I don't want to lose either of you. Never. But you know, even though I have been reincarnated into this world, I still don't know what their next strategies or plans are. I have no idea what's going to happen next. I'm not confident I can keep everyone safe. I just don't want to be alone again. Anyway, while I was mulling over all of these things, 4 days had passed by the time I realized it. It was pathetic of me if I might say so myself, but I couldn't stop the words from flowing out of me. Even though I now wielded the power of a demon, but my soul was still that of a lonely child. I wished to be together with everyone. Hoping for an idealistic wish, just like the soul of a child. Chloe listened to all my words silently. She was about to say something in response, but then, I will always be with you. The voice I heard didn't belong to Chloe or Nya. The voice came from beyond the open door. It belonged to Driel. I won't let you be alone. Of course, I know I don't have the same monstrous powers like everyone else, so my words might not have any bite to it, but still. Driel, I will always be by your side, you know? Right next to you, Kai. Despite how tense her voice sounded, her feelings were pure and genuine. My eyes widened in surprise, and then, as if she wanted to add another nail to the coffin, Chloe added, that's right. Besides, so what if you're afraid? You want to protect me from harm's way? Are you underestimating me? I know I may look like this, but I've defeated cults on my own, you know. No matter what happens, I won't die. I also feel the same way as Driel. You know. I will. Always be by your side. That's why, you should try to relax a little. Womanizer. Why would you say something like that in this situation, Nya-san? Kai doesn't understand anything. There's no way I would let you be alone. Huh? My love isn't that shallow. Huh? Still nestled snugly in my arms, Nya leaned her cheeks against my chest as her cheeks slowly dyed in pink. If Kai isn't by my side, I will die. That's why, I won't let you be alone. I love you after all, and because I love you, I would be troubled if we weren't together forever. How did things turn out this way? I couldn't endure this any longer. I mean, I felt like screaming at the top of my lungs. I felt like I had been confessed to in many different ways. My heart couldn't stop beating wildly. Nya-chan. Not fair. Even though I also wanted to say it too. That's right. Besides, what's with that I love you? How could you say that so casually, you devil? PFFT. Ha ha ha. Both Driel and Chloe shouted, their faces were turning bright red. Seeing their reaction, I couldn't stop myself from bursting out laughing. Ah, I knew it. I have to protect them. Even if I have to die, I need to protect them all. Looking at everyone's faces, I was able to gather my resolve. After discussing with everyone, we came to a conclusion. We would attack the Imperial family with just the three of us. We had to exclude Real for now, but I left her with the task of contacting resistance in our place. However, that attack never took place. Huh? Brian? On the day of our planned attack, Brian, the elf from the former hero party, appeared at the Empire. She was severely injured. T/N, okay, but the snuggle part is so adorable. Cubed exclamation mark. 72, The Monster's True Identity. Chapter 72: The Monster's True Identity. Phew. I know it must be hard, but please endure it a little longer. The wounds are too deep. I need to be careful in healing you. Phew. Sorry, Alwyn. I know you must be busy. What are you talking about? We're comrades, aren't we? I immediately headed to the church upon hearing the news. There, inside a small treatment room in the corner of the church, I saw Alwyn placing both of her hands over Brian's wounds. Alwyn looked really desperate as she cast healing magic on Brian. Alwyn's eyes then widened in surprise at the sight of our group of four. Me, Nya, Chloe and Real. Huh? Everyone. Why are you all here? Then, upon seeing our faces, Brian turned ghastly pale. Panicking, she immediately reached out for her bow and arrows. A demon? And Chloe as well. Don't tell me. No. It's not like that, Brian-san. You're wrong. Kai-san is not a bad person. Phew. Phew. But there's no way he's not a bad person. After all, the monster that attacked me also used black magic, and only demons subordinate could wield that kind of power. Monster? Though I knew I should speak calmly, but the flustered voice slipped out of my mouth without me realizing it. Seeing the grim expression on my face, Brian fell silent. She was clearly torn between speaking up or remaining silent. It's okay, Brian-san. I understand if you can't trust Kai-san yet, but please trust me. Alwyn encouraged. Then, seemingly reassured by Alwyn, Brian finally opened her mouth, albeit gingerly. I was attacked by a humanoid monster. Well, mostly human. Its skin and everything else were kind of disfigured. I see. A humanoid monster. The first thing that came to my mind upon hearing that was the bodies in the underground laboratory of the slums. The disfigured humans that were preserved in giant test tubes. Maybe the Empire had forcibly injected black magic into living human bodies to turn them into monsters. Either way, the fact that they could create monsters powerful enough to injure Brian this badly was not a good thing. Brian. This. Just what happened? Yeah. It's been a while, Chloe. Phew. I'm sorry for showing you such a disgraceful sight. Who cares about that? What happened? Just look at all those wounds. Shocked at how severely injured her old comrade was, Chloe quickly sat next to Brian. She started checking on Brian's injuries. Chloe's reaction was understandable though. Just from a single glance alone, I could tell Brian's arm was severely injured. Her left arm was almost torn and there were deep cuts around her waist on the opposite side. The elf's clothes were stained with blood, almost making it hard to know the severity of her injuries. Fortunately, Alwyn managed to stop the bleeding. But still, Brian was not in a condition to speak calmly. I glanced at Real, who had her mouth covered with both hands before I turned my attention back to Brian. Brian, sorry for interrupting, but do you think you could spare a moment to talk with me after Alwyn finished treating you? Me? You? Why? You're the demon in prophecy, Brian-san. It's alright. While still casting healing magic on Brian's arm, Alwyn interjected. Considering our situation right now, Kai-san is our ally. But, please, Brian. Chloe gently held Brian's other hand and looked at Brian in the eyes, pleading. Just once. Just once is enough. Look at me and look at Alwyn and then, please tell us what happened in detail, along with Kai as well. Though Brian still seemed unconvinced, she eventually relented. Brian sighed deeply and nodded her head several times. In the evening of the same day, we gathered once again in one of the vacant bedrooms at the church, where Brian was staying. It seemed the pain had eased a bit, since Brian looked calmer now compared to during the day. She sat on the bed with her arm still wrapped in bandages. She stared at the bandage for a few seconds before she finally decided to speak. After the incident with the Pope, I was thinking of returning to the village for a while. Since Kultz was also... Yeah, Kultz is dead and Alwyn said she wanted to dedicate her time to rebuild the church. Of course, with everything that has happened, it's safe to consider the party has been disbanded, right? I'm sorry, Brian-san. Like I said, you're not at fault, Alwyn. Anyway, I was thinking of returning to the village to think about my future. After all, I never expected Kultz would die all of a sudden like that, and even the Pope. No, it's okay, Brian-san. It is a fact that the church has committed unforgivable sins. There's no denying that fact. Anyway, there were just too many things going on and I was thinking of returning to my village to sort out my thoughts. I didn't even know what I was fighting for anymore after all. Brian paused briefly before continuing. And then, on my way back to the village, I encountered that monster. Brian said she was attacked in a plain near the capital. It wasn't a common route due to the dense forest nearby. There was hardly any human traffic there. When I first saw it, I was honestly surprised. Monsters are supposed to be trapped inside dungeons and I didn't expect to see one so close to the capital. Anyway, I was thinking of defeating it anyway since I was already there, and then I could quickly get on my way back to the village, but I prompted her to continue, and then, Brian had a tense expression on her face as she continued. He was stronger than I expected. It wouldn't be strange if that monster is the boss of an S-class dungeon or something. He was really strong and he fought with a sword in hand. Honestly speaking, I couldn't stand a chance against him. It was almost a miracle that I managed to escape from that monster. Impossible. Brian-san. It's true, Alwyn. He was incredibly fast and terrifyingly skilled. Every swing of his sword was filled with murderous intent, and yet, despite the clear fury emitted from that monster, he showed no openings. He also had a great amount of magic power, and you know what? Gulping, Brian stared at me. Just like what I said earlier, the monster was using black magic. His sword was imbued with black magic. It emitted a black aura, and upon closer inspection, the monster's body was misshapen too. Half of its body looked like a ghoul. His eyes were bloodshot and he kept mumbling incomprehensible words. He was probably a human that underwent body modification with black magic. Body modification, huh? Yeah, and you know what else? That guy. No. Brian halted, as if she suddenly came to her senses. She shook her head several times, but she still looked clearly anxious. Everyone present was taken aback at her reaction. Brian remained silent, seemingly thinking hard about something. Her expression remained serious as she looked down on her lap. I instinctively knew something terribly wrong was going on. I glanced at Chloe. She nodded at me before she returned her attention back to Brian. Brian, if you really don't want to talk about it, that's fine. You don't have to force yourself, but I'm really curious. Even the smallest details can help us in finding out who or what that monster really is. After hearing Chloe's words, Brian finally lifted her head. Even now, her face was still filled with anguish. Just like in the game, Brian wasn't the type of person who would tell someone something she wasn't certain herself. However, this time, the suspicion seemed to outweigh her usual cautious nature. She trembled slightly as she finally continued. Like I said earlier, his sword was clouded with black aura, so it was hard to see clearly, but okay, what about that sword? Somehow, the sword looked like the holy sword. Everyone was rendered speechless at Brian's last word. A look of clear shock filled the room. The holy sword? That holy sword? But in that case, and his face, grotesque as it was, adding further shock to our already stunned minds, Brian whispered to me, that monster's face looked oddly familiar. He looked like Kultz. 73, let's crush them to the ground. Chapter 73. Let's crush them to the ground. We returned to Real's mansion after we finished hearing Brian's story. The monster that attacked Brian might be Kultz himself, and the one that was most shocked by this fact was none but Alwyn. Alwyn kept trembling and muttering to herself, seemingly in utter disbelief. Cults should already be dead. Chloe was as shocked as everyone else. Her reaction was not falling behind Alwyn's. We went to the largest room in the mansion, which was Real's room. I looked at everyone's faces before I began to speak. Their true goal, huh? Do you remember what Jebbles said in the underground laboratory by the slum? Their true goal was to corrupt everyone in this empire with black magic and use them as some sort of energy source. And to further strengthen their black magic, they need human life force. I see. Real had a slightly tensed expression on her face as she listened to me. So you're saying that they used black magic to drain human life force and inject it into Cult's corpse? Yeah, that's what I think. There's a chance that the monster Brian saw wasn't Cult's, but considering how someone as powerful as Brian couldn't stand against that monster, I think it's safe to assume that the monster we're talking about is Cult's himself. In that case, this also meant the Empire already had the technology to revive the dead. I see. So they had been hiding this trump card all this time. So troublesome. It wouldn't be a surprise if we were to find someone else came back to life, not just Cults. Besides, we also had no idea how powerful those resurrected individuals might be. But Brian said Cults had the Holy Sword with him. Why could he wield the Holy Sword? He was abandoned by the Holy Sword at the end of his life. Well, it would be better for our side if he could still use the Holy Sword though. It's getting harder for me to understand what those guys are thinking. So? What should we do? The one that said that was Chloe. She was staring at me with a serious expression on her face. I think we still don't have enough information in our hands. How about if we go on a rampage for a bit, Kai? Go on a rampage. I agree. To my surprise, Nia also agreed with Chloe's suggestion. If they could really use black magic to revive the dead, then anything could happen from here on out. I think we should take the initiative and strike first. What a surprisingly logical statement, Nia. Kai? Sorry. I was just joking. Ahahaha. She moved swiftly and grabbed my cheek with both hands. I immediately raised the white flag to avoid incurring her wrath. I was only trying to lighten the mood. In that case, our next course of action also aligns with the interest of the resistance. The next one to voice her opinion was Real. The people of the resistance are eager to fight. It might not be a bad idea for us to strike first for once, right? Now, what should we do? All three of them gave reasonable opinions. Stalling here wouldn't change anything anyway. There was no guarantee that another victim aside from Brian would come up from this incident. And just like what Chloe said, we didn't have enough information in hand. I truly never expected the time would come when I didn't have enough information in hand after I got reincarnated to this world. Anyway, it wouldn't be a bad idea to strike first and gather the needed information at the same time. We could capture a few loose-lipped individuals between them and extract some information from it. In that way, we could learn more about their plans. All right. Let's fight them. Chloe and Nia nodded, seemingly satisfied. Probably because it had been a while since they last fought. Real, on the other hand, had a slightly tense look on her face. Lowering my voice, I muttered to Real. That being said, let's limit the number of resistance members to around 20 only. Huh? We're not going on a full-scale war in this after all. Real widened her eyes for a second before she nodded, seemingly understanding what I meant. The purpose of this battle is to gather information. That is all. Of course, our opponents are not fools. They must already have some sort of countermeasures in place. We don't know what kind of opponent we will be up against either. I explained further and then, I clasped my hand together before continuing. We need to be prepared for any kind of situation, and for that, we need to have the ability and speed to protect our own lives. Having too many resistance members with us is only going to slow us down. That being said, I'm aware that we need to have a certain amount of fighting power to fight them. That's why I think 20 people is the right number for this fight. Honestly speaking, I didn't want to get any of the resistance members involved in this battle. Not only was this fight far too dangerous, but it would definitely be faster and efficient if only we were to do it. But I couldn't keep ignoring their enthusiasm to wage a fight against the Empire. 20 people might seem like a strange number for them. But we would need to convince them somehow. I know the exact details of the royal castle. Let's target the area that seems to be the least guarded first. Does anyone have anything to add? I scanned all them and fortunately, all three of them shook their heads. But then, Real raised one hand after a slight pause. Should I be the one to convince the resistance members? No. I will do it this time. Huh? They probably have a lot of pent-up frustrations by now. I knew some of them still insisted on attacking the royal family right after killing the Pope. Those people already had years of grudge and frustration against the Empire, and so, they must have had a lot of dissatisfaction from being told to wait. Now, 20 people was clearly too few for them. I thought I should be the one to explain things properly to them this time. Hopefully their complaints would dwindle down and Real could have an easier time handling them. After all, Real had always played the role of a bridge between the resistance and us. I needed to give her a break every once in a while. Well, anyway, I shrugged my shoulders off as I trailed my words. If the enemy turns out to be weaker than our expectations, let's crush them to the ground. The three of them smiled bewitchingly, seemingly satisfied with the challenge. After a brief pause, I also grinned and continued on. Reviving the dead as ghouls or whatever that creature is. Those people are just so disgusting, aren't they? 74. The Fall of the Ruler. Chapter 74, The Fall of the Ruler. He had loved art since he was young. Through paintings, he created the world he wanted to see. A world of paradise, filled with happiness and delicate moments that didn't exist in his reality. Each piece was filled with vibrant colors that connected everything to smiles. This might have been one of his escapism methods. His status as the emperor's illegitimate son and the nightly sound of his mother being abused by his father were enough to tarnish his young soul. The nobles called him a silly dreamer. A delusional illegitimate son, and for some reason, his tyrant father liked to abuse his mother cruelly. Stop. Stop. Please. Kaiwa, huh? Why aren't you moving anymore? Then, he heard that his father had accidentally killed his mother. On the day of his mother's funeral, he saw his brother wearing a strangely proud smile. He saw how the nobles looked at him in disdain. It was at this moment that his world started changing significantly. The world wouldn't forgive the weak. Humanity was nothing but a religious farce. Mercy, in essence, was a sin. Showing mercy to the weak went against the laws of nature. In a world of survival of the fittest, one had to kill first if they didn't want to be killed. The canvas, once colored with sunlight and smiles, was now stained with shadows and blood. He pondered meticulously. How could he inflict the maximum pain possible on someone? How to torture someone just enough so they would be tethering on the brink of death? How could he repaint everything from the ground up? Father, big brother. One day, while he was drawing the death of his father and brother, a demon arrived. This demon came to change his fate. He became the chosen one. He gained an overwhelming power. Though he had to lose a part of his soul in return, but the liberation from his status as a weakling made everything worthwhile. Did you sleep well last night? Now, two of his family members were weeping tears of blood from their black pupils. They laid in their coffins every night, writhing in nightmares. They kept shedding tears of blood to no end. They had been reduced into motionless dolls. The second prince greeted them with a serene smile on his face. He lifted their eyelids to check for something. He then grimaced and sighed. Have you two burst the blood vessels in your eyes again? Foo-foo, I wonder how much pain you both are in. He would need to infuse them with life force again for them to regenerate the popped cells. Although he found this task tedious to do, but he actually enjoyed it. He kept them trapped in the illusion he created all day long, forcing them to endure pain beyond human limits all day long. Hence why it wouldn't be a surprise for them to cry tears of blood. Every day, their blood vessels would burst, turning the color of their irises blood red. Revenge, huh? I no longer remember the purpose of my revenge anymore. The memories of my mother have long since faded to oblivion. I guess when a soul becomes thinner, the memories inside also start to decay, and in return, the threshold for excitement increases. For now, just seeing you two crying tears of blood is enough to satisfy me, but who knows what will happen in the future. Foo-foo. The Crown Prince continued his soliloquy while holding his latest creation, the mercurial cube, in hand. But alas, survival of the fittest it is. The weak won't be forgiven. Humanity is nothing but a foolish fallacy, and mercy is the root of sins. Well then, The only thing you two can do is grieve for failing to become demons yourselves. Adolf thrusted the cubes into their bodies at the same time. Blood started spurting from their red eyes, reaching to Adolf's cheek. Adolf wiped his cheek with his thumb and then he brought his thumb to his mouth, tasting his father's blood. Not bad, he sneered before he turned his gaze to look down at the soldiers gathered in the room. The long staircase that separated the prince from them symbolized the hierarchical relationship between a ruler and his subjects. A single knight was kneeling in the center, followed by dozens of soldiers behind him. There were over hundreds of soldiers in that room, and today, Adolf planned to use these mindless dolls to attack Adil, the capital of this nation. At this rate, we won't have enough life force to continue mass-producing the Legion. We need to use the cubes to replenish our dwindling fresh life force. This attack will serve as a declaration of war against them. The demon in prophecy is me. Don't be deceived by the fake demon. Quickly, come to me. Become my subordinate. Become one of the chosen. Do you think our plan will succeed, Gring? Yes. I agree wholeheartedly, Your Highness. The experienced knight kneeling at the very front responded in a deep, robust voice. His name was Gring. His once brown irises had become deep red now. And not just his eyes. Are you all prepared to lay down your lives for the glory of the Empire? Yes, sir. The soldiers who once had yellow eyes, black eyes, green eyes, blue eyes. All of them had red eyes now. A perfectly uniform shade of red. They had become the second prince's mindless puppet, completely under his mind control. Phew. Sighing, Adolf looked up at the ceiling. It had been a long journey. At first, he believed he sold his soul to the demon to get revenge on his mother. He dreamt of becoming powerful, to become the chosen one who would dominate everything in the future. But now, none of it mattered. The revenge didn't hold any value to him anymore. He simply wanted to see the world burn. He wanted to brandish his power as the strong one in this life and turn every citizen of the Empire into a mindless puppet. He longed to watch all these puppets move according to his will. He wanted to see these puppets dancing uncouthly. Your Highness. And then, at that moment, the fake demons are heading our way. Oh? The report from his subordinate provided just the kind of excitement he needed at this moment. The corner of Prince Adolf's mouth curled up into a smirk and he began clapping. Very well. Fake demon. Let's see who the true demon is. T/N. Oh, this boy is mad. 75, Reunion. Chapter 75. Reunion. Kai-sama, we will soon arrive at the Imperial Palace. After nodding to the leader of resistance, I turned my attention to my comrades. There were nearly 20 people on horseback, along with Chloe and Nya. It would be best if we continue on foot from here on. Everyone, get off your horses. We need to be more on guard from here on. We don't know what's waiting for us ahead. The men nodded at my words. They dismounted from their horses and readied their weapons. From this point on, we would be entering a true battlefield. After my negotiations with resistance yesterday, we decided to come straight to the Imperial Palace today. They didn't complain much when I told them I could only bring 20 of them with me. They probably already realize the Empire must be plotting some kind of secret and dangerous scheme. Nya, don't ever leave my side, got it? Fufu Kai, you're such a worrywart. It had been about 2 hours since we left the bustling main streets of Adil. We hadn't encountered any dangers yet, but the Imperial Palace building was dawning on us. We had no idea what might appear. We arrived at the western gate, which was relatively small compared to other gates. This gate was the one with the least number of security based on the game. The place was eerily quiet, with only 2 soldiers standing guard. Wait a moment, Kai. While I was observing the gate from a distance, Nya suddenly grabbed the hem of my clothes. Something is off about those people, huh? When I tried to see them with magic vision, it seems those people are being controlled. Huh? They're under mind manipulation. Surprised, I activated my magic vision as well, and sure enough, the red color proved that their souls were a bit skewed. The bodies of the 2 soldiers standing guard were bright red. No way. They're even controlling the minds of ordinary soldiers? There must be at least several hundred soldiers. Permanent mind manipulation on hundreds of people? Just where did they get their power from? Could it be there were other black magicians other than the Crown Prince? Things are getting more suspicious. Come over here. Let's take the route I explained earlier. There was a small back road surrounded by woods between the western and southern gates of the Imperial Palace. I guided everyone down the road without a hitch. The path we were using was the route that was most commonly used by players in the game. It was a bit narrow, but there were almost no passers-by around and it was easy to hide ourselves in here. This was a relatively safe route to take to infiltrate the Imperial Castle. However, something unexpected happened. What is this thread? And a cube? Arg? Question mark. Oi, Kakai-sama, screams coming up from the people at the back. One of the men suddenly started twisting his body unnaturally creepy. Cough. Guah. Arg. Cough. Arg. Then, we saw it. The skin of that man shriveled. His body was withering away at rapid speed. His eyes rolled back and soon, he fell to the ground with a thud. All of this happened within the blink of an eye. What's wrong? Hey, stay away from him. Huh. You ag. The man who ran to check on him collapsed instantly. His body also withered in a flash. Arg. Kakai. Hearing Chloe's panicked voice next to me, I began to think. What was the trigger? It must be some sort of curse stemming from black magic that caused this transformation. You couldn't cast a curse from a distance. There must be some sort of trigger nearby. Everyone. Don't move. There's a magic circle on the ground. Huh? We looked down at the ground and sure enough, there was a glowing magic circle on the ground where two men had collapsed. And at the edge of that magic circle, there was some sort of thread. The thread connected to a white cube. That must be it. I immediately raised my index finger and fired a bullet made from pure magic. I fired 3 shots, causing the thread to snap. The white cube then fell to the ground. This magic circle. It must be black magic. Then, this magic circle wouldn't affect me. I stepped into the magic circle and indeed, I didn't feel anything amiss. I pulled the 2 shriveled men outside the circle. Then, as a last-ditch effort, I picked up the cube that had fallen to the ground and thrusted the cube onto the men's stomachs. Then, Gwa? Arg. Cough. Cough. Yuck. What? The bodies that had shriveled up suddenly returned to their original robust forms as if everything was just a hallucination. I stared at the cube in my palm and sighed. I knew it. It's sucking up people's life force. Life force. Yeah. I nodded in response to the Resistance's leader's question. Standing up, I turned around to face everyone. When you step into this magic circle, you will trigger the curse. Your life force will get absorbed by the magic circle and stored in this cube. Everyone stared at the magic circle in shock, surprised at the Empire's unexpected trick. I decided to try adding a little bit of my power into this empty cube, just to try it out. Since this cube was being used as a medium for storage, I should be able to fill it with black magic power then. Having witnessed everything, Chloe spoke. Her voice was tinged with anxiety. I see. That cube is a storage medium. Yeah. It's a storage device to keep magic energy in it. But I didn't know it could be used to store human life force. I started to understand how the Crown Prince managed to do that large-scale mind manipulation on all his soldiers. Life force was the most potent source of energy to enhance black magic. The Empire needed an enormous amount of life force, which was why they needed something to store it. This was where the cube came into play. Of course, this sort of thing didn't existed in the game. We've acquired good information. I will take this cube with me. As I put the cube in my pocket, I suddenly heard the sound of a beast howling coming from a distance. Kai, Nya, this must be. Yeah. This is enemy incoming. I wonder if this was our punishment for causing a commotion earlier. Well, we were bound to encounter something anyway. It was just, things were proceeding a bit faster than I expected. Everyone, prepare for battle. The enemy might already be surrounding us as I speak. We'll break through the enemy ranks together. Nia's eyes glowed in red and Chloe readied her knife. The rest of Resistance members also started arming themselves. Then, from within the woods, it appeared. Well, yo, long time no see. His right half was completely smashed, resembling a decaying ghoul. His one handsome face that he had when he was human was nothing but history. All that remained was pure evil, rage and hostility. If I had to describe it as an emotion, an overwhelming feeling of inferiority complex. This guy must be here for revenge. The hero that I thought had died came back as a monster. Humanity's hero stood before me again. I smiled dryly. You've become even uglier, Kultz. 76, The Third Battle. Chapter 76, The Third Battle. Here. The enemy is right here. Along with Kultz's appearance, the Imperial Army began showing themselves gradually. Their eyes were all red. I see. They were all under the Crown Prince's manipulation as well. After confirming this fact, I gestured to the leader of the resistance. Yes, Kai-sama. We're surrounded. Although I don't know how many enemies are here, but we will break through the encirclement and return to the city. But we still don't have enough information yet. Well, about that. I shrugged my shoulders as I drew up the magic power nestling within me. The enemies will be generous enough to provide us more information as we fight them. I see. We would be able to gather a lot of information by fighting them. Though the leader still looked somewhat unconvinced, but he must have realized we were in the middle of the enemy's territory. Without voicing any more complaints, he returned to his position and readied his sword. The rest of the resistance members were all capable fighters. They had their fair share of combat. They shouldn't die easily. Besides, Nia, Chloe. Okay, what is it? Feel free to go wild. Fufu. Okay, sure thing, leader. As long as the three of us were here, the enemy wouldn't be having an easy time fighting us either. Groa. Gah. The guttural groan from Kultz signaled the start of battle. He unleashed a thick black aura from the holy sword and charged at me. His movement was fueled with murderous intent to bite my neck off. He's fast. I immediately brought my hands together to create a shield. Even a slight delay would have put my life in jeopardy. As the captain of the knights, I order you. Do not let them leave this place alive. Stop them at all costs. An elderly man that seemed to appear out of nowhere swung his sword and issued an attack order. The red-eyed soldiers immediately started charging at us. We found ourselves surrounded by enemies, forcing us to pick up a defensive position. Although the situation was at our disadvantage, but we weren't getting overrun one-sidedly. Dark sight. Tuck. Cough. Cough. Grach. Chloe, the swift assassin, made her move. Finally. The time has come. Kill them. Let's vent all of our pent-up frustrations at them. Don't be afraid. Yuruach. Kill them. Kill them all. Every single one of them has creepy eyes. Disgusting. Drop dead. The unexpectedly high morale of the resistance members made a breakthrough for us in the midst of this dire situation. Gra. Gra. Ha. You can't even sound like a human anymore, huh? Meanwhile, I was fighting Kultz a little away from the others to prevent any of my comrades getting caught in the crossfire. Although some enemy soldiers tried to attack me too, but I quickly put a hole in each of their heads with magic bullets. This guy had turned into a complete monster. Not only was he faster than before, but his magic power had increased a lot too. His movements were frenzied. Each blow carried a heavy force in it. It was like Kultz kept shooting straight jabs consecutively. It would be bad to keep fighting in close combat with him. I had to put an end to this match quickly. The magic power in his body has changed into black magic attribute. I see. Someone must have infused him with an enormous amount of black magic to enhance his physique. I see. In that case, unleashing a shockwave, I blasted Kultz away. Despite the impact of the shockwave was strong enough to break several trees behind him, Kultz quickly regained his balance and lunged at me again. His red eyes were filled with the determination to kill me. He readied his sword at me. I opened my eyes wide, reading the movement of his sword, and immediately tilted my body to the side. Grua! The holy sword grazed my waist by a hair's breadth. The moment our bodies almost pressed together for a split second, I placed my hand on his chest. Grua! Now then, I cast a spell that was on the opposing side of black magic. Healing wave. My hand glowed in white and waves of holy magic emanated from my palm, started to scorch his body from the inside. Grua! Grua! A screeching scream erupted from Kultz, causing everyone to freeze on their track. My unique skill that was bestowed to me when I came to this world, one who stands at the boundary. A cheat-like skill that allowed me to steal my opponent's abilities. Still, I didn't expect the healing magic that I stole from Alwyn could be used in this way. Since Coltz's body was basically fueled by black magic, he was practically an undead too. In the game, undead monsters were extremely weak to holy magic. Even if Coltz was a former hero that once wielded the holy magic, but he was brimming with black magic attributes now. Grah. Kuru. Perhaps the pain was too much for him to bear since Coltz collapsed to the ground with a thud. I then stabbed his torso with a sword made of magic just to be sure. I could clearly feel my sword piercing through his flesh. After that, I immediately returned to my comrade's side. Ha. There are too many of them. Just what is going on? Do not fear death. You will be resurrected anyway. Glory to the prince. Glory to the empire. Sacrifice everything you have. Chloe looked exasperated. Meanwhile, an elderly man that seemed to be the leader of the enemy's force raised his voice to boost the soldiers' morale. Upon hearing his words, I came to understand two things. First, the enemy wholly believed they would be resurrected, be that with black magic or whatever other nefarious method they had in hand. Second, the mind manipulation wasn't strong enough to overrule the soldiers' morale completely. If the mind manipulation had taken root completely, the soldiers would be reduced into nothing but an army of puppets that would annihilate the enemy standing in their way. The soldiers wouldn't have to be encouraged like this. However, judging from their movement, it seemed these soldiers still retained a bit of their humanity. Kai, I'm ready to unleash the big spell. Thank you, Nya. Everyone, gather around me. Chloe, hurry up. I immediately crouched down and placed both hands on the ground, infusing it with magic. Soon enough, a black curtain-like structure was formed around us. A dome-shaped black curtain was encircling us. The members of Resistance and Chloe quickly rushed into the safety of the black curtain I had casted, and at the same time, all of you, die. A pitch-black darkness covered the sky. Giga Despair. T/N. This is definitely not the end of Ghoul Cults. 77. Awakening. Chapter 77. Awakening. You are startled by the sudden rumbling from the ground. Alone let out a shriek. She hurried outside to see what had happened, and then, she saw it. Although the church was located quite far from the bustling downtown, but she could see smoke rising from the direction of the Imperial Palace. That's a purple explosion. The one that answered Alwyn's question was Brian. Thanks to Alwyn's thorough treatment, Brian had fully recovered. She stood next to Alwyn and continued on. That explosion was definitely caused by black magic. Those guys probably got discovered by the Empire. After all, there's no way they would use such a big spell just to gather information. Do you think everyone will be okay? What are you talking about? Those kids are black mages, aren't they? They must be the one who caused that explosion. Brian was right. But now that Alwyn knew the Crown Prince could use black magic as well, Alwyn couldn't stop herself from getting worried. She hoped Kai and the others wouldn't get hurt. Clasping her hands together, Alwyn earnestly prayed for the safety of Kai and the others. Yuck! The man standing next to her fell to the ground while letting out a shameful cry. His reaction was understandable though. The once dense forest was completely obliterated by a single spell from Nya. All that remained was a desolate and vast open area. The only area safe from Nya's magic attack was the area protected by the magic shield I had cast earlier. Well, this should be enough. Everything should be fine now. The explosion of black magic earlier didn't only contain pure explosion power, but it was also infused with curse power. It was basically a big ball of curse. Perhaps because of that, all the surrounding enemies had vanished without a trace. Standing up, I immediately started looking for Nya. The smoke was still rising, obstructing my field of vision, but it didn't take long for me to find Nya by using magic vision. She was breathing heavily and she seemed to be swaying a bit. Startled by her behavior, I rushed over to her. Nya. Are you okay? Kai, Chloe. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired. Chloe also quickly rushed over to Nya to check her condition. Chloe must be surprised to see Nya staggering. The exhaustion was evident on Nya's face, probably due to using such a powerful spell. This was to be expected though. After all, the demon's power residing in Nya's body had been partially drained from her at the Schwitz detention camp. Her magic power was lesser compared to when she was the final boss of the game, and given how enormous the spell she had cast just now, it was only natural for her to be exhausted. The spell she had used to create the massive explosion to defeat the Crusaders were already enough to make her feel a bit tired. My magic power is a bit low, but I'm okay. I can still fight just fine. But, Nia, I can still fight. I want to keep on going. Nia looked up at me with an unusually determined expression on her face. Chloe glanced at me, waiting for my decision. I turned around to check on the state of the resistance members behind us. What about all of you? Can you all still fight? Yes. We're still good to go. I see. I scanned our surroundings. The whole area was in ruin. I contemplated our situation. To be honest, it felt a bit of a waste to go back after we had come this far. Although we were surrounded by a lot of enemies, but Nia already took them out with a single strike. It was safe to assume the most dangerous elements, cults and that elderly knight, were incapacitated by Nia's explosion. We had already achieved our purpose here, which was to gather information, but I still felt something was missing. My only concern was Nia. She was already exhausted, but I should be able to cover for her. Alright. Let's head straight into the royal palace. But remember, don't let your guard down. As you all already know, we're right in the middle of enemy territory. Yes, Chloe, continue to fight as you have been. Nia, I will protect you. Okay, I got it. Alright. Everyone, let's go. We don't know what awaits us beyond this point, so it's better to stay viggy. Right before I could finish speaking, cough. Everyone stood there, frozen at the shocking turn of events. Another man fell to the ground. Blood sprayed everywhere, and at that moment, I realized cults. Although his speed was too fast for human eye to follow, but I could see it. He was swinging his holy sword, which was now clad in black aura. Yuwag, watch out! Cults aimed for the neck of the man next to me, so I quickly moved my body to block him. I cast a magic shield within the blink of an eye and somehow managed to stop Kultz's sword. Then, I could see it. Yo, you bastard. You bastard. Enough. Just drop dead already, will you? Part of his face was already rotting away, but he was still able to glare at me with his red eyes. The hero's once handsome face was nowhere to be seen. All that remained was the face of a grotesque beast. How did he even survive that attack? I had already stabbed him with a sword and Nia's magic had hit him directly. Could it be? The black magic circulating through his body made him resistant to the explosion, since that explosion was made from the same attribute. Nia. Watch out! While my mind was too occupied with cults, Chloe suddenly yelled, followed by another squelching sound that I was all too familiar with. Shiver ran through my entire spine as I turned my gaze toward Nia and Chloe. Blood splattered everywhere, and it was Chloe's blood. In order to protect Nia from the elderly soldier who had appeared out of nowhere, Chloe had shielded Nia with her own body, causing Chloe to get impaled in the shoulder by the elderly man's sword. Arg. This. Wow. Shit. In that case, panicking since he had missed his target, the elderly man quickly took out a scroll from his pocket and opened it. Arg. As soon as the words on the scroll began to glow, Chloe suddenly became limp, as if all strength had been drained from her body. Taking great use of this opportunity, the man pulled Chloe to him. He grabbed her by the neck and pressed the tip of his sword against Chloe's neck. Don't move, you demons. If you value this girl's life, then back away. Back away. The man's voice seemed so distant to me. Though I could hear his words, but his words didn't resonate in my mind. At this very moment, I could only see Chloe and nothing else. Chloe. Nia's voice, filled with shock, seemed to echo in my heart. The only other sound I could hear was the weak groan coming from Chloe. Something started to surge from within me. Chloe, who was still limp from the curse. Chloe, who was still bleeding from her shoulder. Chloe, who still had a sword pressed against her neck. Chloe, who was still trying her hardest to look at me despite the curse. My heart started racing. Within the next second, all of my rationality completely vanished. Don't you value your comrade's life? Back away. Back away now, UGH? Yuwag? ? The man could only watch. A sudden gust of wind touched his cheek, and in the next moment, he saw cults, who had been confronting the young demon, being blown away. Gradually, a massive black storm started raging from the young demon. What? The man watched again. The demon girl, who had been kneeling and seemingly in shock just a moment ago, was now staring at him. Her eyes were glowing in bright red, and from behind her, a visage of a demon emerged. The shadow grew bigger and bigger, until it became big enough to swallow everything. Even though the elderly man was stuck under the crown prince's mind manipulation. But he understood. He instinctively understood. This emotion he was feeling right now was fear. He realized he had stepped upon an enormous landmine. The two demons didn't speak. They simply glared at him with their glowing red eyes. Each of them were accompanied by their own demonic visage. The man realized. These two were the true demons. He realized he was destined to be crushed by these demons. T/N, now we're talking. I always love madness episode like this. 78, Give Chloe Back. Chapter 78, Give Chloe Back. A walking calamity. That expression seemed to fit these two demons perfectly. It was as if these demons had the ability to blow everything away. To erase everything from existence. Darn it. Darn it. Desperate for his life, the leader of the Imperial Knights, Gring, fled into the Imperial Palace with Chloe in tow. Chloe was still half-conscious thanks to the curse. The soldiers who had died from Nia's massive spell only amounted to a fraction of the whole Imperial army. Gring hoped he could run far enough to let his comrades come to him, and they would be able to corner the enemy and beat them into submission somehow. Being under the Crown Prince's mind control, the soldiers were supposed to be fearless. Furthermore, many of the knights had been strengthened even further by the Crown Prince's black magic. However, the two demons lurking behind Gring had destroyed all of their plans. Gring wasn't an exception. He was under the Crown Prince's mental manipulation as well, and yet, his body could still feel fear. His instinct could feel it. Everything was going to be crushed by those two demons' overwhelming power. The tremendous explosion and the corpses of the soldiers being blown away by the black storm was enough to explain their raging fury. Those two had the power equivalent to a whole army. An army with demonic visage lurking behind them. When the eyes of the giant demon glowed, the soldiers who were supposed to charge at them started cutting their own bellies instead. When the tearful girl clenched her fist, a chunk of meteor made from pure magic fell from the sky, obliterating everything around them. It was hell on earth. The once beautiful Imperial Palace was turned into the picture of hell by those two demons. Their demonic power was spreading throughout the Imperial Palace. What are you guys doing? Fight. Knights. Buy as much time as possible for the magic squad to unleash their strongest spells. We only have two enemies. Even the soldiers who would normally flee in fear in the face of an overwhelmingly powerful enemy, somehow able to resist the fear and started forming a defensive line instead. After all, this was the royal palace, the heart of the empire. A large number of soldiers were stationed here. The presence of their comrades brought forth courage. Not to mention, the mind manipulation done by the Crown Prince had dulled their fear. The soldiers began fighting back. All of their eyes were glowing red. It didn't take long for the magic squad to finish their preparation. Magic spells of various attributes started raining down on the two demons. The knights also showed great ferocity, almost like a beast. The soldiers who feared no death were a force to be reckoned with, but, Seeing the soldiers coming at him, Kai came to a halt and swung his arm down. At the same time, the giant demon behind him also mimicked his movement. The giant arm sent the knights in front flying, literally. The soldiers were literally blown away. Black gust of wind started brewing, forming a typhoon. The soldiers struck by the demonic arm immediately lost their lives. The black whirlwind didn't stop there. The wind continued raging uncontrollably, consuming everything in its path. This was something beyond mere black magic. This was the force of true demonic power. What's that? Gring was taken aback. His master, Prince Adolf, had anticipated this situation. They already had plan at hand for this situation. The plan to defeat the fake demons. The Crown Prince had eliminated the fear from the soldiers' mind through mind manipulation and created elite soldiers like Colts and Gring himself through black magic. The black magic practically made soldiers like Goring immortal and invincible. The demon's power was already divided by half, so they should be able to defeat the boy and the girl if the Empire made use of their overwhelming number of soldiers. Furthermore, the Empire had thoroughly analyzed the demon's abilities from the previous battle against the Church. Goring was confident the Empire could win. After all, those two were fake demons. The Crown Prince was able to turn Goring immortal and revived Kultz, someone who had died once. The Crown Prince was strong enough to manipulate the minds of hundreds of soldiers. That kind of thing was only possible for a true demon. Goring had no doubt that the Empire would be triumphant against the fake demons, but Chloe, hi, give Chloe back. The demon before him was beyond any common sense. The moment his comrade was injured, the boy suddenly transformed from a mere human into a full-fledged monster. The girl, who was supposed to be exhausted from conjuring such a powerful spell, suddenly summoned another demon behind her. The two of them wreaked havoc in the castle, annihilating anything in their way. The girl wouldn't stop crying, as if the girl was trying to unleash her sorrowful rage upon the soldiers. Seeing the boy suddenly appeared right in front of him, Goring trembled. His instinct was screaming at him to escape immediately and hand the woman over to the boy. Although Goring was also under the Crown Prince's manipulation, but his instinctual fear won over. Hence why the thought of surrendering the woman to the boy flashed across his mind. Give Chloe back. However, if he were to give the woman back, wouldn't the demon kill him later on? This woman was the only leverage he had over the demon. Goring's last shred of rationality warned him, and he gritted his teeth in frustration. Right. He was already immortal. The Crown Prince could revive him again, just like Kultz. The curse he had placed on this woman was akin to a time bomb. In about 3 hours, the curse would death the woman, killing her. He only had to tell the boy this, causing the boy to be confused and, Guru. While Goring was pondering his next move, a beastly roar could be heard from behind him. It was Kultz. A massive black horror erupted from the holy sword. The frenzied Kultz aimed his sword at Kai. The fear of death didn't exist in Kultz's mind. The only thing remaining in him was madness. Kai glanced at the frenzied Kultz behind Goring. He calmly raised his hand and, Arg! Grrr! Kai caught the holy sword with his bare hand and grabbed Kultz's neck with another. He then forcefully pushed Kultz to the ground. From then on, the violence started. Arg! Grrr! Arg! Bam! 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 The sound was so loud that it was hard to believe the sound actually came from someone hitting another person. Goring couldn't do anything but stand there in shock. The ground around those two started shaking before crumbling to dust. Despite the risk of getting his fingers sliced by the holy sword, Kai remained unfazed. It was as if the boy knew no pain nor fear as he continued to beat Kultz. Blood flowed from his palms, yet he kept his fist clenched tight and pounded Kultz relentlessly. His eyes were glowing red. The red was more vibrant and deeper than the soldier's, so much so that his pupils couldn't be seen. It was as if his sheer rage had dominated over everything. Arg! Goring was about to lose the strength on his legs. The creature in front of him was inhuman, but it wasn't a fake demon either. That boy was a demon. A true demon. Goring was overwhelmed. Everything he had believed was crumbling away before his very eyes. Hi. The boy crushed the neck of the disfigured Kultz with his foot and slowly stood up. Chloe. Even though blood was flowing from his hand, the boy showed no sign of pain. He only muttered the same thing over and over again. Give Chloe back. Give Chloe back. Or I will kill you. His red eyes glowed even brighter and Kai stepped forward. I will tear you apart and kill you. I will slice you to pieces and kill you. I will kill you. I will kill you. Hi. Give Chloe back. Goring was at a loss. Even if he were to hand Chloe no, the result would remain the same. He would be killed by this boy. He couldn't form any coherent world. The true demon finally stood before him. An otherworldly evil being was standing right before his eyes. Damn it. Damn it all to hell. Screaming, Goring was about to throw Chloe to the boy when suddenly, what are you doing? Just before Goring released his grip on Chloe, the voice of his master resounded loud and clear. Flinching, Goring turned around. Hey! You, fake demon, Prince Adolf, with a single bead of cold sweat trickling down his forehead, managed to squeeze the words out of his throat. "Say, how about we make a deal?" 79. A deal. Chapter 79, A deal. Prince Adolf couldn't believe his eyes. He never expected the fake demons would be this powerful. He thought the only large-scale magic they had was the massive explosion that Nia summoned when they destroyed the church. Moreover, the boy in front of him, Kai, had always fought in a subtle manner, manipulating enemies through mind control rather than causing any flashy destruction. Although Adolf didn't know Kai's true strength, but it was clear to see he had underestimated Kai. He thought since Kai only had half of the fake demon's power, Kai couldn't be stronger than Nia, and yet, just what the heck is going on here? The boy before him looked more like the incarnation of death itself or a demonic fiend. The boy was enveloped in an aura of madness. The black wind whirled violently around him. Standing still proved to be difficult for the Crown Prince. The wind was laced with oppressive magic power that made it hard for the Crown Prince to breathe. "Hey! You, fake demon! Say, how about we make a deal?" A fear unlike anything the Crown Prince had ever felt before welling within him. Despite Adolf's conscious effort to ignore it, his trembling voice and cold sweat betrayed his body. Yet, Adolf was still convinced the boy was merely a fake demon. After all, Adolf had made a deal with the true demon. With his soul as the price, he became much more powerful. He was getting closer to becoming the demon in prophecy. A deal? Yeah, a deal. Seemingly having regained a bit of his senses, Kai stopped moving and turned his attention toward the Crown Prince. Even just being stared at by Kai made Adolf's knees go weak. However, he mustered every strength in his body to maintain his composure and pointed at the unconscious Chloe. "At this rate, that woman will die." UGH? Hey? The moment Adolf mentioned the death of Chloe, the storm of darkness raged even more fiercely than before. The sky turned black. The sheer amount of intimidation was at the scale Adolf had never experienced before. A menacing level beyond the realm of this world. The Crown Prince let out a pitiful shriek, but he quickly collected himself and managed to squeeze out a response from his parched throat. "That woman is under the curse of black magic. Her cells are withering away as we speak now. If she's not healed with high-level holy magic within the next 3 hours, her whole body will wither away, which in turn leads to her death. In other words, your time is running short." You want to save her, don't you? Then follow my words. If you leave now, I promise I won't harm the rest of your companions." Kai's eyes opened wide. He seemed to have regained a bit of his sanity as he stared at the Crown Prince without saying anything. "Good. Maybe I can get through him now." Seeing an opportunity, the Crown Prince raised his voice again. "Just so it's best if you don't try anything stupid. I'm the demon in prophecy. There's a real demon within the royal palace. A true monster that can devour human souls and controls all forms of black magic. If you break your promise, I will summon that demon right here and now." "I know you are strong, but there's no way you can defeat that monster within 3 hours. While you're fighting, your companion will suffer and die from the curse. Do you understand your position now?" "Huh?" Fake demon. Albeit he was shaking, the Crown Prince managed to finish his speech. Truth to be told, his claims weren't just empty threats. There was indeed a monster behind him. A powerful demon that had granted him the power of black magic in exchange for human souls. The trigger that caused Kai to unleash his full power must be that assassin girl. Seeing his companion on the verge of death, the boy lost his reason and went berserk. Since the boy valued the girl's life so much, he would surely not continue to resist after what the Crown Prince had told him. Die. However, a chilling voice entered the Crown Prince's ear. Another girl seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Jolts of electricity immediately coursed through the Crown Prince's spine again. His whole body turned cold. "All of you. Die, 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 die." The girl was crying tears of blood. She clenched her hands together and her red eyes glowed even more intensely than before. The sky started to be covered by dark clouds again. The telltale sign of hell was about to descend before the Imperial Castle again when, Nia. Kai's low voice seemed to echo through the space. Nia suddenly stopped moving and looked up at Kai, who was now standing beside her. Though Kai's demonic appearance hadn't faded yet and his red eyes remained full of killing intent, Kai had enough reason left in him to make a proper judgment. The most important thing right now to Kai was Chloe's life. Give Chloe back. All right. But you need to get out of here first. We will hand you over near the entrance. Adolf knew he mustn't lose his position here. Although the Crown Prince said that with bravado, but he soon regretted his statement. UGH, just like what happened to Nia, Kai's red eyes began to shine even more intensely than before. His fury quickly transformed into murderous intent, which in turn made the violent black storm to rage even more. The killing intention was so overwhelming that the Crown Prince almost toppled from his ground. He immediately realized the mistake he had made. The boy hadn't regained his reason yet. He was merely suppressing his murderous intent by focusing his mind on Chloe. This is my last warning. Arg. Give Chloe back. The fear was so overwhelming that Adolf's entire body was on the verge of trembling. Unable to endure this unprecedented fear, the Crown Prince clenched his fists tightly and muttered out, I understand. We will hand her over, okay? TCH. Darn it. What's going on here? The prince was consumed by humiliation and anxiety. He was one step closer to madness. Why? Why is this happening to me? How could a mere fake demon be this powerful? What's happening to me? I'm the demon in prophecy. It's me. Me. The monster said I'm the demon in prophecy. That's why the monster came to me. The monster promised to grant me any power I desired as long as I gave it my soul. This isn't supposed to happen. Gering. Yes. Give that girl to him. But, Your Highness, I said, give that girl back to him. The Crown Prince's angry roar caused Gering to flinch. With a sense of resignation, Gering released Chloe from his hold and pushed her towards them. Chloe. In an instant, the two figures that used to look so demonic, shed their terrifying appearance and rushed toward Chloe. Kai caught Chloe midair with his entire body and near cradled her face with both hands. Chloe was breathing heavily, looking clearly in pain. Healing wave. Kai cast the holy magic and Chloe, who was tethering between the edge of death and life, stirred slightly and began to open her eyes. Chloe. Witnessing the touching scene upon opening her eyes, Chloe let out a weak smile. Despite the intense pain still coursing through her body, Chloe saw Kai, who was biting his lower lip in frustration, and Nia, who was crying like a child. She saw just how much these two cherished her. Kai, Nia. I'm sorry. Kai immediately hugged Chloe tightly and took several deep breaths. The Crown Prince wasn't lying. The curse wouldn't disappear unless Chloe got healed by high-level holy magic. The kind of skill that only someone like Calwyn possessed. Clenching his teeth, Kai stared at the two men in front of him. He etched their names in his brain. Gering and Adolf. They were the ones that caused this pain to Chloe. He vowed. He would never forgive them. He would make them experience the worst pain before he killed them. With a new determination in mind, Kai lifted Chloe in a princess carry and turned his back against Gering and Adolf. Let's go home, Nia. Yeah. Even Nia, who had completely lost her reason, was able to calm down a bit upon seeing Chloe's face. She nodded obediently and stood next to Kai. However, before they left the royal palace, with a faint smile on his face, Kai turned his head around to look at Prince Adolf. Oi, Crown Prince. What? How much time do you have left? Huh? You should take a good look at yourself in a mirror. Then, as if he was hammering the last nail on his curse, Kai continued on. His words were loud and clear. His face was devoid of any emotions. You look deathly sick, like someone who's about to die. 80. Chloe's determination. Chapter 80. Chloe's determination. Pardon the intrusion, I said before entering the room, knowing full well the owner of the room was still sleeping. I was in one of the bedrooms in Real's mansion. Chloe was soundly asleep in the soft, fluffy bed by the window. After leaving the Imperial Palace, Nia and I received permission from the members of Resistance to make our way to the church. We moved at lightning speed and we were able to meet with Alwyn. Alwyn was shocked to see Chloe's condition, but she immediately cast high-rank holy magic to remove the curse. As expected of a priest who was meant to be the next pope, the purification was done swiftly. I've removed all remnants of black magic from her body, but, judging from the wounds on her shoulder, I believe Chloe should rest for about 3 days. Just like Alwyn's suggestion, We decided to return to Real's mansion and took a break for the time being. I looked down at Chloe's face and licked my lips. The shoulder wound was caused by Goring while she was protecting Nya. Chloe's shoulder was properly bandaged by Alwyn while Chloe was still asleep. I clenched my fist tightly and sat down in the chair next to the bed. I'm sorry, Chloe. If only I had been more cautious. If only I hadn't let my guard down after defeating cults. If only I hadn't been so complacent, thinking Nya's magic could easily blow everything away. Then none of this would have happened. This was the first time I ever saw my comrade getting gravely wounded like this. Maybe that was why the image of Chloe, limp and aghast, still clearly etched in my mind. I gripped Chloe's hand tightly, hoping I could imprint her presence in my weary heart. I didn't want to go through something like that ever again. When Chloe was struck by the curse, all the blood in my body suddenly turned cold. Shortly after that, I lost all sense of reason. I was angry at both myself and the enemy. Hence why I needed to do my best to avoid making the same mistake. Good night, Chloe. I decided I should return to my room so I could gather my thoughts. Standing up, I was about to leave when a clear voice stopped me dead in my tracks. Are you leaving? Huh? You're really going to leave? Even after you barged into someone's room while they were still sleeping? Startled, my eyes opened wide. Chloe was awake. She let out a soft chuckle upon seeing me. I could only gape in surprise, and by the time I realized it, my mouth had moved to ask her a question. Huh? You were awake? Of course I was. You know I'm extremely sensitive to people's presence. Ah, right. You're an assassin after all. So? Are you really leaving? Propping herself up, Chloe continued on. Her cheeks were adorned in slight blush. I thought you're here to do something lewd to me or something. Wah? Huh? What? SSSH. You're being too loud. Do you want Nya and Real to hear? But you're the one who said weird things. Really? I didn't say anything weird though. Despite her injuries, Chloe was in a surprisingly good mood. She playfully tapped the edge of the bed with her hand. She was clearly motioning for me to sit down there. I gingerly sat down next to Chloe. Are you feeling okay? Do you still feel the remnant of the curse? You're such a worrywart. I'm fine. Alwyn already checked my conditions several times this evening alone, remember? Well, you're right about that. PFFTU. Just how much do you like me anyway? What? You? Even though I knew I should give her a quick response, but I found myself at a loss for words. I understand that Chloe only said that in a jest. Her voice was trembling a bit at the end, but I should have just brushed it off like I usually did. And yet, for some reason, the words refused to escape from my throat. I was getting flustered, and for some reason, I felt a bit ticklish in my stomach. Chloe's flirtatious remark actually threw me off balance. Give me a second. And it seemed Chloe was feeling the same way. Her face was even redder than before as she stared intently at me. I was just kidding, okay? I only said that out of joke, okay? So, yeah. Of course. I know. You don't know anything at all. You idiot, huh? What did you just? Tilde, I didn't say anything till now. Then, if you're done here, get out now. Hurry up. You idiot. Why was she getting so angry at me all of a sudden? I wasn't the perpetrator that made the mood all weird like this. Chloe was the one that made things awkward. Hey, Chloe. And yet, I didn't move away from Chloe. I looked at her again, this time straight in the eyes. Maybe because my voice sounded more serious, Chloe looked back at me. She seemed a bit startled. I knew this might not be the best time to say this, but still. I decided to speak up now. You're still going to join the next fight, right? Yeah, of course. Why are you asking me? Perceptive as always, Chloe quickly understood what I was trying to say just from my expression alone. Frowning, her face immediately turned serious as she leaned closer to me. Kai. Don't tell me you're. Honestly, I don't want to hear it. I really hope you won't join our fight anymore. I told you I don't want to hear it. Seemingly losing her patience, Chloe shouted loudly and gripped my shoulder tightly. As I looked at her angry face, a thought went across my mind. I wish Chloe would stay here forever. I don't want her to enter the battlefield anymore. I don't want her to face any danger. I just want her to live peacefully in Real's mansion. I wanted to say that, but even I knew that was the last thing Chloe wanted to hear. Why? Why? Is it because I got hurt? Is it because I'm not as strong as you two? Just because of that? You want to leave me be? I won't accept it. Why would you say something like that? Why? Her voice, tinged more with sadness than anger, urged me to lift my face to look at her. I gasped. Chloe looked like she was ready to burst into tears at any moment. I know I'm not as strong as you two. I know I was useless. I know I was just being a hindrance to you two, but still, for you to suddenly tell me you want to leave me be. You're just too cruel, Kai. It was then that I finally realized just how much my thoughtless remark had hurt Chloe. How insensitive and coercive I was. I had never seen Chloe crying like this before. She was weeping. Her shoulders were trembling. She looked genuinely sad and heartbroken. Looking up, Chloe glared at me. Her eyes were full of resentment. I'm sorry. Enough. I hate you, Kai. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I crossed the line. I'm really, really sorry, Chloe. But you know, I never once thought of you as weak or useless. Really? Yeah. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. I never once thought of you like that, but, these were pretty embarrassing to say out loud, but I knew I had to say it to reassure Chloe. And so, I looked down and muttered the words out. You're too important to me. No matter what happens to me, I really don't want to lose you. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I don't want to see you get hurt or worse, unconscious again. Never again. Kai. My emotions got the best of me and I ended up saying something stupid that hurt you. I'm sorry, Chloe. I promise, I will do better. For me, who had very few good friends, Chloe was an irreplaceable existence to me. No words could express just how precious she was to me. She was as important as near to me. She was a friend I wanted to protect with all of my might. However, friendship meant we should be equal. I knew I was at fault for completely disregarding Chloe's feelings. Kai, lift your face. Seemingly understood my feelings a bit, Chloe gently cupped my face with both of her hands. She slowly raised my face and our eyes met. We stared at each other in silence for a while. Am I really that important to you? I said it just now. It's not enough. Say it again. Am I important to you? Well, of course. You are important to me. You know, pausing, Chloe took a deep breath before she continued on. I care about you many times more than you care about me. That's why, I will fight. Even if you were to leave me behind, I will follow after you and fight alongside you. That's why. Don't ever say that foolish stuff again. Yeah. Sure. Another awkward silence ensued between us and I found myself at a loss for words again. The warmth of Chloe's hands on my cheeks was even more palpable now. Although Chloe was merely warning me, but her words resonated deep within my heart. She told me she cared about me many times more than I cared about her. It was as. What is it? No. It's nothing. Almost like a confession. Chloe? Shouldn't you put your hands down now? If you don't let me go, I won't be able to return to my room. You've lost your right to say anything after what you said earlier. Just sit still and remain silent. Chloe showed no sign of letting my cheeks go. The mood between us was getting more awkward and awkward, almost unbearable. I was thinking I should pry her hands away from me in order to escape from this awkward situation. Otherwise, I felt like the mood between us would transform from awkward to weird. You can just sleep here with me, huh? I was about to reach her hands, but Chloe tightened her grip on my cheeks. Then, she leaned in closer. Her cheeks were adorned in red blush. If you can't go back to your room, then why don't you just sleep here together with me? 81. What first kiss feels like. Chapter 81. What first kiss feels like. My mind went blank. Huh? What did you just say? Sleep together? Sleep together? Question mark. Huh? Question mark. Oi. Quiet down. Chloe's voice was just as loud as mine though and her face was bright red. She looked like she might combust at any second. Despite that, Chloe didn't let my cheeks go. She was still cupping my cheeks gently with both of her hands. We only stared at each other in silence for a while. I really didn't know what to say. My mind was just blank and I could feel the heat rising to my face. After all, I had never experienced anything like this before. I never had a girl be this aggressive with me before. Is it a no? And it seemed Chloe was just as inexperienced as I was. Even though she was usually so composed and confident, she looked so tense now. Her hands were trembling even and her golden eyes were wavering with anxiety. The tips of her fingertips were growing colder too. The moment I noticed all these signs, I couldn't help but to chuckle. Oi! Why are you laughing? PFFT. Ha ha ha. Sorry, it's just... You're so different from how you usually act. What do you mean by that? This is the first time I've ever seen you quivering like a small animal. Seeing this side of you actually calms my raging heart actually. Ugh. That's it. I was a fool to expect anything. Go back to your room, you dense idiot. And just so you know, if you dare to come into my room again, I won't show you any more. She never finished her sentence because I had already pulled her into a hug. Startled, Chloe's body stiffened and she tried to look up, but I held her even tighter, preventing her from moving. After all, my face was just as red as her. I didn't want her to see my face yet. Kai, say something. Sorry, I can't right now. You know. Noticing that I wasn't trying to refuse her advancement, Chloe buried her face into my chest and mumbled. You're going to sleep with me, right? We well. I guess. No. Don't be vague. Give me a clear answer. Although I look like this, but I'm already prepared to take your answer, you know? Judging from the situation, I definitely shouldn't say no here. No. It wasn't about the mood or the situation. I genuinely wanted to stay by Chloe's side too. I tightened my hold around Chloe before answering. Then. Just tonight. Let's sleep together tonight. Just the two of us. Now why aren't you saying anything, Chloe? I don't understand. Why just tonight? Why are you suddenly getting so aggressive, Chloe-san? Good grief. You really don't understand a girl's heart. Do you, Kai? Chloe slowly pulled away from my chest and glared at me with eyes full of spite. Lacking the confidence to meet her gaze, I instinctively turned my face away from her. However, my decision actually made her even more upset. Puffing her cheeks out, Chloe once again cupped my face with both hands. She then suddenly pulled my face close, bringing our faces within inches of each other. We were so close that I could actually feel her breath against mine. Chloe? I definitely didn't expect this. Flustered, I tried to pull my face away, but Chloe's grip was like a vice. She was holding my face firmly in place with her hands, not letting me move. Chloe? What? Well. You suddenly, Kai, you must be a virgin, huh? You usually talk a lot, but when push comes to shove, you either stay silent or try to escape. Let me tell you, Kai. Acting like that is going to hurt the girl, you know? Deciding that it was time to unleash her complaint, Chloe continued to lecture me despite the blush adorning her cheeks. But her words passed through one ear to another. I couldn't focus on her words because of how close our faces were. I knew she was beautiful, but she looked incredibly beautiful up close. Almost too beautiful. Not to mention, she was the one that suddenly closed the distance between our faces. If I were to move a little, our lips would. Our lips were so close that a single wrong move could bring our lips together. Stop staring at me like that. You idiot. The moonlight streaming through the window illuminated Chloe's face, casting a picture-perfect maiden's visage. Her cheeks were flushed red. Her lips quivering ever so slightly. Her sincerity and nervousness came through so clearly that I found myself frozen still at the bewitching scene. There was no trace of the cold-hearted assassin. Just pure emotions of a girl, laid bare. By the time I realized it, I found myself placing my hand on Chloe's cheek, as if I was captivated by her. Chloe's eyes widened for a split second, but soon she placed her hand over mine and closed her eyes. My heart was pounding wildly, I could feel the thumping against my chest. Chloe relaxed her entire body, leaning against me. Her lips slightly parted, inviting me in. I tilted my head just enough so our noses wouldn't touch and I softly pressed my lips against Chloe's. Our first kiss was warmer and softer than I had expected. I couldn't think of anything beyond that. My heart was beating so loud that my head went blank. The tension made it impossible for me to focus on the finer sensations. Our lips parted and Chloe finally took a deep breath. Her face was still flushed all the way to her ears. Her lips continued to tremble. Her golden eyes were still wavering, but now her face was filled with anticipation for more rather than anxiety. She looked up, giving me an upturned eyes. Kai. Yeah, can we do it again? This time, Chloe pressed her body tight against mine as she uttered that outrageous wish. However, I no longer had any rationality left to refuse. I held her back and pressed my lips against hers once more. Mwah. Mwah. The sound of Chloe's breaths and the sound of our kisses rang clearly in this quiet room. Our bodies were pressed tightly against each other. Chloe was clinging tightly to me as if she refused to let me go. Our second kiss turned into third and our third kiss turned into fourth. Chloe kissed me repeatedly. She looked intoxicated, like she was enthralled by the new sensation. She had the expression of absolute bliss. Once more. No, don't go. Just once more. Kai. Mwah. Mwah. Lost in the moment, Chloe continued to kiss me with fervor. Our gentle kisses gradually turned heated as I accepted all of her feelings. I lost track of how much time had passed. It felt like we had shared more than 10 kisses. Her eyes were still closed as Chloe clung to me desperately. Of course, I didn't let go of her either. After exchanging another deep, lingering kiss, Chloe buried her face in my chest. I like you. I like you. I like you. I've liked you for so long. Since the day you saved my life. I've loved you ever since. She was a character destined to die young in the game I played, but she was also the first character that came to my mind when I got reincarnated into this world. She was an irreplaceable partner to me, and so, I already had my answer. Me too. Yeah, I like you too. I've liked you for a long time, Chloe. Yeah. Chloe finally looked up. She showed me a blissful expression. There were a few tears of joy at the corner of her eyes, so I gently wiped them away with my thumb. I like you, Chloe. Me too. I like you a lot too. Within the next moment, Chloe lunged at me. She kissed me with such intensity that left me taken aback. I quickly regained my senses and tightened my embrace around her. I like you. I like you. I like you so much, Kai. I like you. The two of us continued to kiss passionately, losing in the warmth of each other.